tonight on 8.5-bit. I hardly knew her. How about D's and OGS?
Now, I want you to explain that to me, Paul.
Not till the show starts.
Oh.
Welcome, friends of all designs, to episode 282 of 8.5-bit.
Normally you write it on the thing.
That's a trick. I'm your host, Paul, and joining today my good friends James.
Hello.
And Sam.
Hi.
And the games in today's intro. Bethesda, I hardly knew her. Hades, how about D's? And TGS, OGS.
But why?
I don't know. I have to do something at the start of shows.
No, I appreciate it.
It's a good one.
I spent seconds thinking of those.
You put slightly more effort into that one than you usually do.
It's true.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I was laughing in my head going, oh boy, this is going to be such a stretch. Because I hardly knew her.
Well, that one's a given.
Oh god, that has to be the worst pun of all time. I hardly knew her, but I use it all the time. I'm allowed to now. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Hello boys, how are you?
I'm going well.
Yeah, doing alright.
That's all right now. We don't have a bigger list of news as last time.
We can talk about games.
But we do have like the biggest piece of news like in years.
Yeah.
So
But we can hold off on that bit.
no, right.
Just go now.
We're actually just going to do it. We're going to separate it. So we're going to have like the first five. No, fuck. This is stupid. Anything cool going on in your lives?
Oh, I did that thing that Paul
Fishing.
loves me talking
We've
about.
already
Here we
spoken
go
about
again.
fishing.
Yeah.
There's
So-
nothing else to talk about.
So today,
Nothing has changed
because-
in the world of fishing.
because I managed to get a build submitted to Steam this afternoon for the upcoming autumn festival.
Another festival.
Yet
It's been
another.
days. Literally.
And so I decided for this afternoon, I'm going to go fishing because now I have the nudgy tide times pretty much open all the time. So I know when the tide is.
Is it an animated thing?
No, but
It
you know.
should be. It should be like a rain meter tool.
So I've discovered that I like fishing at low tide because that's where I can walk out. And I've been learning how to properly attach the bait to the hook.
That's pretty important.
And now that I do that with a little half hitch at the top to make sure the bait doesn't sink down on the hook. Today I caught 2 brim and a whiting.
I mean a bream.
No, brim.
Just the hat brims.
Yeah, just brims of hats.
I also like to imagine that before this you were just sort of like rubbing the bait on the side of the hook and hoping.
Well,
You stay there, Mr. Bait, and don't you move.
Just drag the hook through the bait box.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming it's called a bait
the bait
box.
box. So that was fun. Got 3 fishes. I had
Sorry, what was the third one that wasn't a bream?
a whiting.
Oh yeah.
But they were all too small, so I just threw them back. But I got them. That's there is progress.
Yeah.
I mean, part of what I like about this whole thing is it's just like this big scope of knowledge I know nothing about, and I get to learn all these new
You're just
things.
dipping your toes in the water.
Yeah, dipping my toes in the water. And there are so many friendly people on YouTube that just want to talk about fishing, and they have their cute videos about how to put the bait on.
There's a guy who his old tube is what's his name? It's like Metal Turkey or something. He just dumpster dives. That's all he does.
Yeah.
I think you'd be into that.
People have passions.
Yeah.
We're in a world where
passionate
they
people.
share those passions.
It's good. I like people that are passionate, even if it's fishing.
At least it's something, right?
Yeah, it's something. It's something, all right. It's okay,
Yeah, I
James.
had a fun time.
I'm glad you
very
had fun.
relaxing.
But
'Cause I had a very stressful day.
In between fish,
nice to just-
did you play your own game on the quest?
No,
'Cause you
because
could.
it's basically meditation. That's what you're doing. It's like you're sitting there, you're being very mindful, just looking at shit and not really thinking about much. And that's kind of the part that's relaxing.
When I was an aerial photographer, that was my day every day. It's like there's an electrical pole coming up. Why don't you take a photo of it, Paul? I guess I will. Brain go buzz. What's the meme at the moment? Thingabrr.
Singapore.
I don't. It's one of those things that the first time I heard it, I thought, "Oh, that's funny. I like that sentence." And then it happened a lot. But now I don't know what its origin is, and it worries me because it's used a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like people have co-opted a very stupid. Maybe it was always bad, but I feel like people are co-opting it into other things. It's the new attack helicopter, which I thought was the first time seemed like a quaint concept, and then oh no, this is now hate speech.
Oh.
It went from a funny video that got, someone paid to do.
Is that what the attack
attack
helicopter started as? Yeah, it's weird.
Because there's that guy on YouTube who basically you just pay him, he'll say whatever you want him to say in his accent.
Oh.
So it practically starts as like a weird racism thing because everyone's like, "Ha, funny accent.
Yeah.
Say these words."
Let's
It's a little
let's
weird.
pay the man to
It's
say
just
the funny
cameo.
thing.
Yeah, but it's
Christo-
basically just cameo.
It was Christopher Lloyd.
the attack helicopter thing, and
Marty! I don't know what any of these words mean. Surgeon Simulator 2. It's launching soon. Great. I watched some of that new Dragon's Dogma series on Netflix.
Oh, yeah? How
Is
was
it-
it?
Well, I only watched some because then I turned
is
it
it
up.
Dragon's Dog?
Dog shit.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's the very fancy anime style, which isn't anime. It's CGI, but it looks like anime. So everyone moves like weird wooden robots. I didn't care about anything particularly except this very very funny kill in the first episode, which made me laugh a lot.
Were you
And
meant
in
to
a
laugh?
No. But it was very funny. It's fun. It's like one of those things that it's kind of like a good thing of the game, and that it just seems to be a series of monster fights. Okay. I liked Castlevania. I hoped it would be. in that way.
I've watched like the first 6 episodes or like the first season, whatever it was. And
Like the intro.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I hated about the first
Yeah.
season. It's like, okay, now we've met all the characters and they're about to
Yeah.
do something. So see you in a year.
Yeah, and it was all right. And then I heard that the series was pretty decent. The rest of it.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It's like they turned it into something. Not really quite. I didn't really know what to expect because Castlevania is a very hokey series. As much as I enjoy it, it's like, oh, we'll just put in anything in any room for whatever reason we want because why not? It's all spooky monster things.
Everything's spooky.
Throw the pie at the Yeti.
What? They announced at TGS the Resident Evil animated series happening next year. Did you see any of it?
No.
It doesn't look as good as the last Resident Evil game.
No.
Oh, really?
I was like, I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but I'm like, oh, the real-time games look better than this. Oh well.
Yeah, we still need to
Capcom's
wait
real
for
good.
the RE3 remake to get cheap so we can give it a play.
I just feel like we should skip it and wait for Code Veronica remake.
Maybe. Code Veronica was pretty good.
See, the problem I have with just waiting to play 3 is I played 2. So I feel like I've already had the experience. And there's so many video games.
There are a lot of video games.
Yes. Should we get into some video games?
Probably should.
There was another show on top. I can't remember what it was though. Damn it. It must have been captivating and mesmerizing. And
I've
great.
been enjoying The Boys. I'm a
Yeah,
few,
Boys is
a few
good.
episodes behind now. I think I'm like 3 or 4 episodes behind. But season 2's been good so far.
Yeah,
Still
I like
on
it.
our list.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
it's-
I'm one season into Avatar.
Oh yeah. You
Oh,
did mention
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, people
It's a
kept.
good show.
I've heard it's very good.
Some people were like wanting to attack me for never watching it. I'm like, let's settle down. It's fine. But it gets pretty epic. It's pretty cool. I like it. It's a good kids show. It reminds me of Monkey. Probably a little bit less racist. But I can't see that when I see Monkey. I just see a show where I grew up with it and I loved it. He was born of an egg on a mountain
So,
top.
the funkiest monkey to ever pop? Is that the word?
I thought it was just ever was, but it could
Ever
be ever
was?
pop.
I guess
I've never seen the
maybe
lyrics
But
written
he
down.
did know every magic trick under the sun,
Yeah.
teasing guards and everyone and having fun.
Hey, monkey.
And then all those people thought it was called Monkey Magic.
Yeah, because the album was called Monkey
Yes.
Magic, which is a great album. But in the final song, what's the place? I can't. Is it Gundara?
Gondara sounds right.
Yeah. The version for the show, in our country, is faster. Because of
Oh,
the
really?
PAL conversion. So if you go and listen to the album version, it's like, what's with this slow fucking song? Which is because normally it's the other way around. But anyway, let's talk about some games. Let's talk about the big game. The game that inspires our... Well, we don't even bother putting hashtags anymore, but my stupid thing behind us. Oh, heck. Hades. We have all been playing some Hades.
Yeah.
It is the latest game from Super
Giant.
Giant.
Yeah.
I weirdly get mixed up with Supercell. I'm like, no.
No, they're very
Super hot.
Supercell,
Very
they're
different companies.
Yes. Super Hot would be great. Yes, the latest game. It's been in early access for quite a while now. It's finally out. It's out on PC, out on Switch. They said there would be cross-save, but that isn't yet. But they say next month.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's cool. And they've dropped the first post-release patch now, which fixes up a couple of bugs that people were having. But it
was pretty good at launch.
I haven't noticed any bugs.
Yeah, I haven't.
I haven't seen anything.
It's been very solid. Did any of us play it before release?
I did when it very first hit early access, and I played. I think I have about an hour of it on Epic, and that hour was enough for me to go, "This is a good game. I'm going to wait till it releases on the Switch," and now it is. And I'm happy.
I have.
There is a lot more in the game now than there was. Then.
I would imagine
There's
so.
a lot more.
So I have a mixed history with Supergiant in that I like their games, but none of them have ever
I'd
truly
say
grabbed me.
I like the style of them.
Yeah.
Like Bastion, the presentation is very good. I never really enjoyed playing
I
Bastion
didn't
as a
enjoy the
video game.
gameplay of Bastion.
Yeah.
but I got through it.
Yeah. So
I couldn't get into Transistor.
Pyre is one of those games
I
that
never touched Pyre.
I played and I'm like, oh, this is cool, and then fell off my plate, but was so interesting. It's such a weird game. It's it's RPG sports game in a fantasy world. It's very, very unique. Because I think people forget about that one. They're like, oh yeah, they always make these sort of top-down action games. Like,
No, they made a soccer game.
they made a
they made a different one. Probably made them no money, so they went back.
They went back and made this. Okay, so Hades is top-downish action adventure game with roguelike elements set in world of gods.
Greek mythology.
Greek mythology. You are a son of Hades. What's his name?
Zagreus.
Is Zagreus an actual character? Because I've never heard that name before. This game.
They've done a really good job of filtering the mythology stories into something that's discernible and understandable.
It
Like,
does.
and-
I mean, Dusa doesn't quite seem right.
Well, that's just a like they haven't gone for like the right representation of all the characters, but a lot of the stories that are intertwined in there are all like pulled out of Greek mythology.
I feel like they've done their homework.
They really have.
Yeah.
And like they've tied up some of the inconsistencies that exist in Greek mythology. Like they've made a more cohesive version of it. This is like the Cliff Notes Greek mythology.
I think you get that thing with
mythos.
So many of those ancient mythologies, that
There's just a
all
lot of
your
different,
Norse stuff.
Just different
Yeah,
versions.
there's
of
different
stories.
versions of everything, and you get a book, and because they've put a bunch of stories together, like, but isn't that person dead? And just wait, how did they? No, they're the daughter, but also their grandmother, and what?
Yeah, it
just
gets
the version, it's all mixed up because and the thing is, they're talking about magical beings anyway that could potentially do this stuff anyway. That's another reason why I'm very excited for God of War Ragnarok or whatever it ends up being called, because their little take on that Norse, it's like they have to solidify what they want it to be.
It needs to be coherent with what they've done.
Because I was chatting about it and the person was saying, it's like, oh, I hope they represent it properly. I'm like, represent which part properly? Because there's lots of contradictory stories that we could go with, which is great. I love it. It's a world of possibilities. But anyway, Hades. I think the thing that is most striking for most people is that this is a roguelike game that's run-based. There's lots of persistent systems going on, though, so no run is wasted.
Like 8 or 9 resources that are persistent?
But beyond just gameplay persistence, it plays like a linear narrative story.
Yeah.
Every time you die, and even when you're doing your runs, you're encountering characters that are talking, and then when you die, it doesn't feel like oh shit, now it's restart. Now it's like, oh good, now I get to go back and chat to everyone about what just happened. All the dialogue is surprisingly responsive to what you just did in your run.
I think far too much of this stuff.
Well,
and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I feel
they must have written so much.
I feel like not hit any.
I feel like this is how they've pulled it off, and because you're right about the narrative keeps going. Because I something like other roguelikes I don't normally get into. Like I don't really like Binding of Isaac. I don't really like Rogue Legacy. I don't really like. Even
two of my favorite games.
I don't even like even FTL. I don't really get into
because they're self-contained.
Yeah, it's because it's like I don't really want to sit down to have do a chunk and then it's lost and then it's like okay, well maybe there's some meta going on, but it's like this meta thing which I'll progress something forward, but then the narrative sort of starts again. With this one, they've been so clever about giving me just enough, and it could just be one or two characters have a little exclamation mark above their head, which are going to comment on what just happened, and maybe give me a little bit of a teaser of like something else that's going on, and that's enough. And I've noticed they'll do a bit of like certain characters will just disappear from time to time, because I'm sure it's just throttling it out. Like I'd actually kind of like to know how they figured out like the heuristics on like.
There's a lot of things that definitely have triggers.
Because what I'm wondering is if they're analysing play and it's like, oh, this player is actually progressing quite fast, so they're kind of giving them a kind of a slightly different experience in terms of like how much they're like doling out. But if you're a player which is not doing particularly well, maybe they're like, yeah, let's just make this character disappear for this time. Let's just like, let's rein it back in a bit to kind of keep it. I don't know if they're doing that, but it's got me really interested, like to see what's going on.
I have a feeling there's a lot of thresholds, like in a run, that will trigger various things when you loop back around.
Yeah.
Well, I like one of the things you can do is pay for upgrades in the home base, and they might just be cosmetic. They might open another little item you can do stuff with. But then some of the upgrades are actually upgrades for out in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we could just put like a healing chamber somewhere on this level, that'd be great. Thanks. And then when you find it, your character goes like, "Ooh, the renovation I ordered came through."
There's so much of that,
and it's all spoken as well.
It's all voiced.
It just responds to your actions so well. Like it feels like this just cohesive world that it's not like every time I die, I'm like, I've never been disappointed from a death. It's just because like I know all that's going to happen is I'm going to go back. There's going to be a little bit more story. I probably get to talk to Dulcia again, and I'll make myself a little bit stronger, and I'll get a little bit further next time. Maybe. Who knows?
Got a Pat Cerberus.
Yeah. Oh, every time.
Always Pat Cerberus.
Every time got a Pat Cerberus.
Keep him on your side. So before you go into a run, you select a weapon. One of the cool things they do is just another thing is one of the weapons will be glowing, and if you pick that one, you get a little bonus.
Yeah, it's like 20%, I think.
Yeah, so it's just like, hey, reason to change your weapon if you're just sticking on one. It doesn't force you to, but it just encourages you to keep changing.
And then when you start, it immediately gives you something.
Yeah, it immediately gives you a power-up of some sort. Now, this is probably the only thing that in the game holds it back from being the roguelike experience that I like. So every once in a while, in the games that you hated then, Binding of Isaac and
right, for the record, I don't think they're bad
games. No. I'm just using humor and trying to scar your name. Every once in a while, you would just get a build so trippy and crazy. Now, that's fine. Sam's binding his lip here. Yeah. So Sam has completed the game. James and I are still early. I'm about 10 runs in.
I don't know how many runs,
you
but
say complete. I've finished
you've seen
twice.
Like our credits. Does they have a credits at the end?
Credits.
There's no credits. Okay, but you get to a completion run of some sort.
So to not spoil things.
Yeah.
You complete a run. All of that work that they've put in through runs of story, dialogue, giving you a reason to push further, that just keeps going.
Okay.
There is
much more happening.
To continue doing more runs once you finish a run that are past just mechanical reasons.
Okay, because I'm currently at the end of the third area. I haven't gotten to the... So...
Yeah, I
haven't gotten past the third area yet.
Yeah, I've only just got to the third area. So... but so what I was going to say is at least at this point of the game, I'm not getting those accidental builds where it's like I push a button and everything on the screen dies and I get to go do 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 do, and that's how you find your weird secrets and shit and everything in there. So every once in a while you get that huge power fantasy. I do get some runs that are really cool, but I don't get the really off balance.
It definitely
ones.
leans more towards targeted builds rather than pick up what you find and something crazy will happen. It definitely leads towards choosing your build.
Yeah, this is what I like about the that item at the beginning. This because it basically sets the tone for what am I going to do. Like I find it works well for me. And then like I really like how when you're playing through, it gives you the choice on like where you want to go for your next room. It gives you some agency over.
Yeah. So when we're saying you get like a power up, typically most of the power ups are you run into a god and they give you a choice of power ups that you want. And so if you continue to go to that god, you can keep going in that power line if you want. But every time you clear a room, there's normally, not always, but normally there's a couple of doors. And they'll say what power up will be available in the next room. Be it some extra health, a god, an upgrade for a weapon or something like that, you can see what it's going to be.
And if it's a god, it shows you which god.
Yes, it shows you which god. Yes. So you can control your build much more than most roguelikes. So just to continue on good design things, this game has something that I think is wonderful, and I could actually encourage seeing in almost all skill-based games, which is they have God mode. Now, God mode isn't the old cheat code which makes you invincible. It does something that I thought was very, very clever. So you start the game in God mode, and it gives you an item that gives you 20% damage reduction. So pretty good, not unstoppable, but
a bit easier to get
through.
A
bit of a boost.
Basically 20% health buff.
Yeah.
That's what you're getting.
Then when you die, it adds 2% to that. So by the time you have then done another couple of dozen runs, you are starting to get pretty close to unstoppable.
But you're still taking damage.
You still can take damage. You still can screw up. You can do... But it does mean that most people, regardless of skill set, would be able to use that item and probably end up getting to a complete run. They'll be able to see the story. They'll be able to see all the mechanics. They're just not going to have to do it. Because at the moment, I have started playing with God mode because I think the game's good and I think my skill set is such that I could get through it eventually, but I also play so many games and I'm doing all these reviews for Z games and stuff like that. I don't know if I have time to beat it the normal way. So, because I do one run a day at the moment. Yeah. And I feel that might take me a while.
A little bit.
Yeah.
From what I've experienced and from one of my friends I've been talking to is further ahead than I am in terms of how many runs he's completed. This is a game that requires a lot of runs to just get the story out of it.
Yeah.
Or at least to get the full story out of it. To see most of that dialogue into...
Which I'm enjoying, and at least at the moment, because I'm still, just like 24% or whatever now, because I've only used it on 2 runs so far. Excuse me. It doesn't mean I can just cakewalk through it. It means that I still have to engage in everything. It just means I don't screw up and just suddenly die as often. Yeah. Which weirdly, it's like quite often in roguelikes, you get that power fantasy, you're really kicking ass, and then you just don't notice that there's one little skeleton next to you,
that one enemy,
and you don't realize how much damage you actually take.
Yeah,
it's like wow, I had full health, and now I've got 1 health hit point left. It's like, dear God.
That's what I've found about when I've got like what I consider like a good build. It's like it'll feel really powerful until it's not.
You can never relax. You can't relax when you hit that point. You just have a slightly easier time of things.
When I first started playing it, I commented on the Discord that I was struggling a bit with the size of the screen because he's quite tiny on the Switch screen.
Yeah.
That went away. Like now I've played it for a while. Like I'm playing on the couch and Cheryl's asking, "Hey, do you want to play it on the TV?" I'm like, "Nah, no, I'm good."
Welcome to Paul's world.
No, I'm all right. And
I do actually wish it was a little bit more readable. Like a little bit, because once it gets very hectic and you've got
I've had a
everything
couple
for
of builds where it's been really hard to tell what's going on.
It's like, I know there's enemies around me and I'm doing lots of damage, but I can't see which enemies are around me and even where I'm facing.
And the Switch does get a bit of slowdown when sometimes as well.
I've noticed it once. Like
I've noticed several times, but it's never got in the way of me. Feeling like I've never died because of slowdown. It's just like there's been a bunch of enemies because it's all right. It's going a little bit slower, but it's all right.
I think it's slow. I think when I thought it was slowing down, I think it actually like the game slowed with it. So
I think that's what it was doing. It
felt
like
that it got framed.
There is one feature that does do that. It time slows for a few seconds when you hit a certain point in that feature.
Well, maybe I did that.
Maybe it was that.
Maybe it was that.
But
maybe you just don't know about the features, James.
I think with enough explosions on the screen, it probably
Well, this is always when it's like there's a shitload of stuff going on, like a lot of enemies, and but it's fine. Like it doesn't like ruin the experience for me. I think like graphically the thing looks goddamn amazing. The character design is crazy good. The voice acting is all top notch. Like, the writing is all really good.
The traditional Supergiant song is beautiful. Which exists in the game.
Oh,
it doesn't exist at the end of the game.
Oh, okay.
It exists in the game, and it's the same singer that they always have, the same as they had for Transistor.
Oh yeah.
I think I know the person you're talking about. Yeah,
it's Dusa. She gets up. She gets up that karaoke
floating Gorgon head. She's
so cute. And then obviously all all the normal stuff you expect, being able to upgrade the character, going through some interesting options there.
And then I found using the mirror. It's like each of the skills you upgrade into, there's like an alternate
version of it.
Yeah, like it's like, oh Jesus Christ, there's a lot.
It does an incredible job of drip feeding all the mechanics over time, and like you're just constantly getting new things to play with.
I have never had a run that I didn't get something out of it afterwards, which
like,
is
here's
pretty
some
unique.
Passive stuff. Oh, those passive things have alternate versions. Okay, now I have unlocked a new weapon. I've unlocked another new weapon. Oh, now all my weapons can be different. Like. And then, like, from there, it just progresses. And then, like, as you start getting more of the gods, there's one god that doesn't unlock until a later area. And then that shows up in earlier bits of later runs.
Okay, cool.
And then, like, some of the boons, once you hit the point of getting, like, rarer boons and combinations and things like that, like, it's constantly feeding you new mechanics within the mechanics you know. And then the first time you finish a run, it unlocks another new mechanic, which is one mechanic with about 50 different options. It's insane.
It's quite a robust package.
There's a lot going on.
And I think it's quite cheap. I think it's only like $30, isn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't full price.
It was only 20 something at launch.
I think it was 36 full.
Yeah.
And it was down to like 29.
Yeah, I think that's about what I got it for.
On the Switch.
It's crazy cheap for what that thing is. It's
I can see myself
video game.
putting more hours in this than I have in Binding of Isaac at the moment, and that's a lot of hours.
But there's more Binding of Isaac coming.
There is, but until it does, I'm kind of done with.
I haven't played Binding of Isaac in years, but I did love it for a while. It's one of those things. It's like I beat Satan, and I was like, okay, I've done it. And now it's like that's only like halfway through
on the
now.
Switch. On the Switch, I'm still missing a lot.
Yeah, because
I have it all on the
Vita.
PC.
Oh, see, I was a Vita boy, and then
if
they
I
stopped
could take my
updating it.
PC save and put it on the Switch, it'd be fine.
But the Switch version is quite expensive. It's $60.
Yeah, but I have it. So
yeah, I didn't spend that much on it. I've got it on Switch too, but admittedly, my full save is on Vita. So why don't people release more games on Vita anymore? It's not fair.
Poor Vita.
It should really. It's still such a strong.
I think 13 Sentinels was supposed to come to Vita, and it's not.
That's what Cheryl's been playing.
She been enjoying it.
She's been very much enjoying it.
It was looking very good, but I don't.
See, all the weird anime
PS4.
Japanese Vita games are being remade for the Switch now.
That's what they want. That's what I need. I just as soon as 30 Sentinels was coming out, I'm like, 30 Sentinels Switch release. It's like it's not announced.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems crazy. It's not like looking at that for like a visual novel / turn-based strategy thing. Like the Switch is just a good place for that.
Don't you talk down to it like that? I don't know. I really don't know anything about the game. Speaking of TGS stuff. Because that was at TGS. It won some awards. They had a bunch of awards at TGS. They had the Japan Game Awards. And they had a special award. They have. It's gone for a few years now. The Game Designers Award, which is just picked by a small committee of pretty prolific designers. Now, I did this story on Zed Games. And what I realized is that I don't know the full names of a bunch of developers. So here, there's only a couple I've got written down here. So let's see who I had. Okay. Okay. So the easiest one. This is about out of 4 of them, I knew 2 of them, but the other ones I didn't know. Okay. So Kamir, what's his first name or personal name?
I'm not going to be the easy one. Any of this.
It's Hideki. Okay. So you don't know. So it's one that I thought that's like Sakurai. Like
everyone just says Sakurai.
No one's ever said his name.
He has another name.
So what I did was like I'm reading this for the news for Zed Games, and I go, okay, I'm pre-recording this, so I'm just gonna go. I just look at the sheet. I go, Masahiro Sakurai. Nailed it. Hidetaka Miyazaki. And then I just cut out the sound in between. I'm like, Miyazaki has another name? What? And the other one was Yokotoro's on there. He was added this year. So they had their Game Designers Award, which they gave to Baba Is You.
Solid choice.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that one.
Because I think
they're beautifully designed.
Yeah, very much. And then the overall Game of the Year, which they call the Grand Award, went to, which wasn't them, this was everyone, but the one award was that small committee that went to Animal Crossing. which is very funny reading all the very salty Westerners. Maybe if you're like a kiddie game...
It's not even a game.
Or people that are really into Animal Crossing, like, all they're doing is adding all the features that they took out from previous games. Like, fucking... There's no pleasing some people. That's just what Jesus said, sir.
On the topic of Baba Is You, actually, you just reminded me, because I watch a lot of the speedrun community nowadays. They do a thing called, I forgot what it's called, but it's like mystery. So it's like no one knows what the game's going to be, but it's always kind of shitty games. But they did one, and it was the guy who made Baba Is You remade an old Flash game, but in a proper version, like a quickly made proper version. And it was a really cool idea. And it's my roommate is a gun. And you're just a little character. It's a little platformer, and the idea is you collect gems and go to an exit. And different levels, you have to collect a certain number of gems, and there's enemies, and it's real basic. But you have a gun.
He's also your roommate.
A laser gun is your roommate, and if you fire it, it shoots a big laser. It just cuts an empty line and destroys everything in that line. Everything, the level, gems, the number of gems you need to collect.
Oh, really?
Like all the UI, and it's a puzzle platformer based around using that to kind of circumvent the actual solution to the levels. It was really cool.
That's cool.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'll go check what
My
the name
roommate
was.
is a gun.
Yeah, it was like my roommate is a gun, or my roommate is a laser pistol, or something like that. And it is available for free because he threw together a build of it. It was an old like Flash prototype he'd made.
Well, let's have a look.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, other TGS stuff. They talked about lots of video games. Not too many new things.
They did talk also a lot about the things they were going to talk about.
Yeah. I love tuning into. So we tuned into the opening show.
The opening
and the
ceremony
opening show is literally, because we watched some around E3 as well. It was the same people who we were confounded by at the time too, which is us, a panel of people talking about the things that will be talked about in the future
for an hour.
Yes.
It's basically like they get the schedule
and they just
they go through it for an hour.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's 8.5-bit Japan. It's great. It's just nice to put on, and every once in a while you just look up and go, "What are they?" I don't understand what
You're
they're
trying
saying.
to figure out what it is based on the screen, the one screenshot and the title of the dev.
I find it weird. Like Japanese presentation of things is still always very strange. They're very big on having like a shot with lots of text over it, and when they do show gameplay, they do it in a window with pictures next to it and things like that. It's like it's just a completely different aesthetic sensibility to presentation, and it's nice to hang out with friends and look at that shit. So stuff that we did get, and some of this was semi-TGS, semi-Nintendo and everything. It's just over the last week. So we got the announcement of 2 new Monster Hunter games, both for the Switch, Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter Stories 2. Monster Hunter Rise, you get a dog.
Yeah.
So the ball's in.
Yep. Well, you get your cat and a dog at the same time.
Yeah. It's
So-
best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It has basically a highlight on basically a grappling hook mechanic, which is good. And when they released gameplay, which they did plenty of during Tokyo Game Show, I just did one thing, which is open up the gameplay, fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. Oh, good, there's no zones.
Yeah.
Yay!
Is there-
They've taken a lot of stuff from World
Yeah.
and pulled it down into like the older style.
Is there multiplayer?
I
mean, there
assume
must
there is.
be.
It's Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
It's always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's a PSP Vita game that's now coming back to
Back to the Switch,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Nintendo.
we had a couple on the 3DS, and then the Switch got a port of one of them. Generation?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
wait,
yeah.
That's the one that came out
But
after World. and
after
everyone's like,
playing
why?
World, after playing World, you
can't
go
go
back
back to the
it's
old
like
ones.
nah.
Yeah, because I don't mind the old graphical style.
No,
It's obviously not
the
as
zones
rich as
were
the world.
worst bit.
But yeah,
And
not
the
having
quality
the
of
zones
life
is
was
good.
just
Yeah, and
so
the
much of
mobility
it
they
was.
showed through it so good. So yeah, if they can bring some of that quality of life, but back to a slightly more traditional setting, I'm pretty
And new
interested.
monsters too.
Yeah.
Like actually new monsters.
Because actually, Monsters Fighting as well didn't have that stuff.
Looked pretty cool. And then Monster Hunter Stories 2, which, if you know, is more of an adventure game with a bit of a Pokemon-ish style collecting,
it's
isn't it?
basically Monster Hunter Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's like instead of being a hunter, you're a rider. So you're the person that like tames and
They got them cool
raises them.
amiibos.
So you're collecting like the eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Delicious
From what I remember, the
monster
first
eggs.
one was pretty decent by all reports.
Yeah.
So
Okay, what else did I have written down here? Oh, I didn't care about that. I also didn't care about that. Dynasty Warriors 9. I just needed to fill out things in my list. Then we got so this because I've just quickly copied some of my script from the Z Games news here, just because I couldn't be bothered rewriting out things that I wanted to talk about. So along with new titles, there were details for Hyrule Warriors: The Age of Calamity, Resident Evil 8. Here's I only put this in so I could say this. Not that it's not good, but because you'll see. NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139.
I very almost. I was going to put it in the Discord. I'm like, I really want to buy and play this just to make Paul say it.
So that is the full title.
That is the full title.
They could have just called it version 1.25, but nope.
They could have rounded it
In traditional NieR fashion. Wait for the weird one.
I mean, it's not as crazy as Kingdom Hearts titles get.
No.
There's no fractions in there.
It's just a slightly long rational number.
Yeah. So NieR Replicant is a remaster remake of NieR, but it's the NieR that we didn't get in the West because we had NieR Gesalt. I couldn't remember the name, but it just says NieR.
Pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, it just says NieR on top. But it's the exact same game, except the character you play is different.
Yeah.
Which is so weird, but it's NieR, so that's fine. So
Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, especially if they've changed a few things in it. Maybe the fishing. They won't. They've added more fishing.
Yeah. Hooray!
It's totally fishing now.
James is down. James, I need to get some XP. Could you go fish for 7 hours for me?
Do.
Oh, have you unlocked the fishing in Hades?
Wait.
No.
That'll change your life.
That sounds pretty good.
I'm excited now.
I thought it was just like a visual thing. No. It's a mechanic.
Sweet.
And there's reasons to do it.
Because fishing.
And you're fishing up all the hellfish. And they have really stupid names. It's great.
Do they do jokes?
The names are the jokes, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not going to say it's at least a C+.
No. There's like they have like a hellish lobster, and it's called a crawfish, but it's got CH instead of like a regular R.
Okay.
It's pretty weird.
That's
They
okay.
just like change the name slightly.
They could do some better puns. I got a game they could play. It was the Grand Award winner. But pretty much in that stuff. So Microsoft Flight Simulator as well. So the first big update for that is going to really detail Japan.
The trailer for that was stunningly
So
beautiful.
Good. And Microsoft went a bit out. They were the first people up, but they were like, "Oh, Japan, we love you. Why don't you love me, Japan? Please." I mean, sorry, no, I don't want to act too. I don't want to be too desperate. By the way, we've already cut the price of the S, so go and get it.
They really want to get their Xbox sales over there.
Come on, Japan. Look, to get off to
good old Phil Spencer.
I'm having some minor buyer remorse with a PS5.
Oh.
Look, I'm going to say I'm kind of a little bit there with you.
We'll see if it's for the same reasons. I have a question of you two. So we've all ordered a PS5.
Yes.
What games have you ordered?
I have ordered Demon Souls.
None, because
Other than that,
because I got the PS5 and then I discovered the price of Demon Souls.
Yeah, the price of Demon Souls was a little off-putting.
Oh,
when you think about it, you can buy a year of Xbox PC Game Pass
for the price
of one fucking PS5 game in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume once they're out in the wild, we'll get our normal Big W stuff, which cuts it down severely. Maybe not to the $70
we might at least get the sub 100 mark.
Yeah, because I don't. Other than I probably bought something with stuff involved, like when I bought Broken Age, like I got it with like posters and T-shirt and shit. But I've never bought a game for $100.
See, I
never bought a not special edition.
I think with Game Pass and its pricing, and the PS5 and its pricing, I can almost see the PlayStation 5 just becoming basically my exclusive machine.
Uh-huh.
And I don't. I mean, it's kind of on the cards now that I could get myself a Series X. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how things go.
We'll see how our PC playing performance goes.
Well, yeah, like maybe it'd be better off just spending something to just like better to stream to my TV or something like that. Because Game Pass.
So the thing is, like, by all reports, that $100, $120 whatever, like in the US, the $70 mark effectively is the new next gen console game prices. So the Xbox games will be that price if you want to buy an Xbox game, but no one's going to need to because Game Pass exists.
Yes,
that's the problem. That's the problem that exists.
And it's actually something else.
Bypass the cost entirely.
There was a Digital Foundry. They got their hands on an Xbox. I don't know if you watch any Digital Foundry stuff, but got an Xbox Series X, and they can't put any games on it yet, like any new games, but they could test some of the backwards compatibility. And Jesus Christ, it's crazy good. I know the PlayStation 5 is doing backwards compatibility. I'm really hoping that it gets the same benefits that Microsoft is giving with the Series X.
They do have that boost mode that they put in there, but we don't have anything detailed on it.
Because they're demonstrating just like Monster Hunter, just running 4K 60.
Yeah, so it's upscaling or
well, now it's just looking as good as my PC, isn't it? Like it already looks pretty good. Like now it's just running really smooth, and it kind of like seeing the boost to the backwards compatibility games, because with this generation it's not like, you know, Xbox like PlayStation to PlayStation 2 where there was like this big kind of jump. It's more like, well, it's running better. Like those last games still look pretty good. The things were letting them down were resolution, frame rate, textures was all fine, like lighting was all fine. So seeing that just boosted, it's like that back catalogue of Xbox One games you could play on your Series X. They're kind of tempting.
At work today, Callum asked me, Paul, when's the last time you finished a game? And I went to open my mouth, and he says, not an indie game and not a Nintendo game.
That's being specific. That's just picking and choosing.
Uncharted 4 seems like a long time ago. Can't be that. And then he goes, what about Resident Evil? It's like, yes, I did Resident Evil 2 beginning of this year. He said, that's the beginning of last year. I'm like, fuck. So part of maybe I'm not really concerned about PlayStation is that I don't buy that many console AAA games anyway to play through. Namely, I borrow them off you.
I'm noticing still got Last of Us Part 2 sitting up there.
Yeah. You can have it back whenever you want. I might play a bit more of it one day. We'll see. It's not going anywhere, though. It's safe.
Yeah, don't worry. I trust you with it.
But this thing, what I don't understand is, one of the PS5 launch games, the exclusive ones, is Destruction All-Stars. A game that I thought looked quite good, but it's a multiplayer destruction derby game that's only going to be good if you have a player base, and it's $125
Yeah,
buy.
a lot of monies.
Because I ain't buying it.
Here's an idea. Free to play with...
Or
its direct competitor, Rocket League, which is now free to play.
I'll tell you what I would be playing it on, though, if it was on Game Pass.
Yeah, you just give it a shot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I know that.
Just try it out.
I just really, seeing that pricing, it's... Look, I still need a PS5, because mainly Cheryl needs to play Demon's Souls. So
would you like to borrow it from me, because I've already bought it?
Well, maybe,
we'll figure it out.
He'll be too busy playing Cyberpunk. It's fine.
So... I think a PS5 for me personally, just for my household, was always kind of the thing to go for.
I'm still going to have a lot of use for it.
Yeah, but when I just see the value that Microsoft is bringing now, it's really hard to kind of to argue against it. To
justify it more towards the PS5.
Yeah, especially because it's PC as well. If you get Game Pass, you're getting them both.
That's the one thing that's got me, because obviously I'm in that world where I've just done a new PC build for Cyberpunk specifically, but it exists as a thing. And so I don't need the console, but I have the game.
As I've been enjoying just mixing news story into news story today, Amazon just announced its new game streaming service, Luna. Not launching in Australia, just like everything else, except Phil Spencer also went out on Twitter and said that to expect xCloud in Australia early 2021.
Oh, that's cool. Good. That's good.
So they don't have a date or anything.
Well, I guess
because they're going to have a limited competition.
They've got their Sydney data centers, so I assume they'll be using that.
Yeah, so they have Australian-based stuff. It's not going to work for everyone, but if you're doing Ultimate, you already have access.
You just get it.
You just get it. It's not an extra
thing.
buy-in or anything. Yeah. So even more excuse for you to play Destiny on your phone.
Well, I think if it's. Actually, I think there's some other Microsoft thing they announced the other day. They're going to let you install the game whether or not you've already bought it.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was a nice thing. It's if there's something I'm thinking about getting,
you can install it.
I can just install it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it's a small thing, But it is actually a little quality of life thing, which I don't
So
mind.
like when you decide to impulse buy it,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
if you're
it's like-
drunk at midnight and buy it, you can just immediately play it. There's no remorse. There's no time for remorse.
I wonder if they'll do something like let you play on xCloud while it runs in the background. They probably will. Like something like that would be awesome. It's like, oh, I bought this game,
So you
just
can
gonna start
start
playing
playing
it.
They have not announced any details of any plans to run xCloud on Xboxes.
Which is what they when they first announced it.
I think they
said
might
was
have
a
talked
thing.
about it as a possibility when
Yeah.
they're talking about like conceptually, but once it's become a
Yes,
product,
true.
they've never once
'Cause-
said it. Because our push was that they were going to make the one series. God, I can't use the word series now, can I? The Xbox Ones.
The one collection.
Yeah, just call it. Yeah,
I just realized what the fucking stupid thing with the word series in there now. I
yeah,
can't.
it is the series. The whole thing.
No, it's not the series. It's the ones.
Sorry, there's the ones of the series.
We're going to the ones would be able to play series games via streaming.
I
is
found-
what we assumed, but it's never been announced.
I found the easiest way to keep the generational naming in my head is it's the oneses and the serieses, and these are the two things. There's the oneses X and
The series of ones and the ones of series.
I realized we were talking about controllers the other day, and it made me realize that they've been using this naming scheme for a long time. Because when they released the smaller Xbox controller, they called it
the S.
the S.
Yes.
So they've always
For
been
small.
using S
S
for
for
small.
Mm.
But it's just unfortunately it's never caught on to mean that.
Mm.
It's just like you kind of have to explain it every time.
Yeah.
It's like, no, S is the small one. Oh, I guess S for small. Yeah, of course. Okay, so which is the S? It's the small one. Oh, yeah, that's right. Small. Don't worry, I'm not going to write it down. I'm just going to remember. Small. S small. S small. Okay, got it. So what is the S? I think because I'm expecting the rest of the industry to just stay where it is, and that's most of what I buy anyway. I assume Bugsnax will be a $30 to $40 game, and I will buy and enjoy it.
I hope so. Because as much as I love Bugsnax, if it's
It will be
$125,
if we split the cost.
Yeah. If for some reason I'm misunderstanding Bugsnax and it is supposed to be a full price game and it comes out at $125,
I don't think it's going to be doing that.
I would. No, it's like our weird quirky niche game follow up to our weird quirky niche game, which was a $20 game. Yeah, we're going to go full price now because we managed to get it on a stream, and there's a little bit of the people sort of joke laughing at us with our cool song. No, it's. I don't.
They need to recoup all that money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's TGS.
Yeah, kind of made me want an Xbox.
Yeah, TGS is pretty good with that. Also in that, I briefly mentioned they showed more Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which is out pretty soon, isn't it?
Next
So,
month, sometime.
Yeah, some of that.
Early October, I think.
I watched it to see if it was more than a Musu game, and it is, but it isn't.
Yeah.
I know if I
don't
get
think
it,
so,
I'll
something.
play it once or twice and won't play it again.
That's what I did with the Fire Emblem one.
So
that's what I'll probably do with this
that's
one.
exactly happened to me with the Fire Emblem one.
I'm
So I'm
probably
not gonna get it.
going to fight my impulse to just get it. Wait for Amy to buy it because she says she wants to. Wait for her to not play it
And then
take her cartridge.
yeah. It's weird. I don't think there's anything on Nintendo's lineup this year that I'm. Oh, maybe I pick up Pikmin again. I don't know. I'm not excited for it. I played it before.
Unless they come out of the left wing with something no one was expecting.
I wouldn't.
on
I doubt
the
it.
fly.
Their
I think
big
I'm good
announcement
on
was that they
Nintendo.
created the laziest game collection of all time. So, dear God, you bought that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Any thoughts other than it's three ROMs?
Well, I played some 64 and was like, this just makes me want to go back and play Odyssey again because it's the better one
better
of
than-
this game. Played some Sunshine and got annoyed with trying to aim the stupid water spout. And then I just played Galaxy and went, yep, this is worth it.
Galaxy is amazing.
I'd $60 for Galaxy, sure.
There's a part of me that just went, I can't believe in this time of quality remakes of it when we've got our Spyros, our Crashes, our Tony
How
Hawks.
lazy Nintendo
It's like, how lazy, how could they not follow the industry trends? And then I listened to what I said in my mind, that I couldn't believe that Nintendo didn't follow a trend. I'm like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 17 or more times, shame on me. Of course. It's fucking Nintendo. So that thing. I don't think there's anything else really TGS-y stuff. Just to do some other brief news, I guess. Australian Game Developer Awards are next Wednesday. They're being hosted by Jordan. How do you say their last name? Russopoulos or something? I'm not good with people. I just call them Jordan. They used to be front of Axis is awesome.
Yeah.
So...
She.
Yeah, I didn't know if they went by she or they.
She.
I didn't.
As far as I'm aware, because
Jordan was going to do a panel with us last year.
I've used they a lot because
it's neutral.
Easier.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's easier.
I do have grammatical issues sometimes, just in my brain. Like the synapses aren't quite there, so I struggle to get the they out sometimes.
I think,
but it's just easy. Yeah. So they're hosting it, and I think the big 3: Boomerang Fu, Necrobarista, and damn it, should have written it down.
The other one,
Unpacking.
Unpacking. Yeah. No, not Unpacking. No, Unpacking's not out yet. Moving Out.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Similar title, similar concept, very different kind of game.
Very different game.
Yeah. So that's and I don't know who I throw my hat in with that. I played a lot of Boomerang Fu on the weekend with my nephews.
You go to Grilled and you've got to pick the charity. And you're like, they're all charities. What do I do?
Fine. Because
put it in with the one that already has the most.
God, I realized I never spoke about Necrobarista on this show. It's still written on my list here from weeks ago.
You mentioned it once.
I think I mentioned that I was going to play it, and then I didn't. So I played through and reviewed the game on Z Games because I'm that kind of person.
So out of 10?
I don't do scores. Let's give it...
but if you were...
Hypothetically speaking.
For the iOS version that I played...
Jeez.
The iOS version...
No, stop. Paul gave it a 4.
He said 4.
Yeah.
I give it a 6 on iOS.
Yep.
On any other platform, I'd probably give it 7.5, 8. It's pretty good. So the reason why on the iOS, the game is buggy as fuck. So Necrobarista, you're a barista. I also like to say a barrister because it confuses things.
A lawyer that serves coffee?
Yeah, exactly. No. You're a barista and you're in this cafe, which also seems to serve a lot of alcohol. So it's really a bar. And you service clientele of people that have just died and they've got 24 hours before they move on to the afterlife. And if they spend longer than that at the cafe, then the cafe starts going into debt with the council. It's one of those things that's like, it's very good conceptually, but if you get too much in the nitty gritty of like how this stuff mechanically would work, you don't want to. And it skirts that quite well. It's quite a fun world and it's good writing. And it's a weird world. So at one point I was like, how do they get paid? None of these people are paying anything. And they're just like, they're just debt for death? I don't understand. And then one of the guys that works for the council is literally Ned Kelly. This is based in Melbourne. Ned Kelly's been around for a long time. He's just got a tin head on his head. And they're big anime fans and it shows. And so the whole game is made in 3D, which lets them move the camera around for better or worse. So visual novels are normally quite a static thing. It's just like you have a background and then heads pop up back and forth, maybe a few expression changes, that's it. A few barks. Huh? No! Just as the text writes below and all that sort of. So this means they can have a really, really dynamic camera, which also means when they're just having a conversation, they put in a lot of stupid, pointless shots because they're mostly still static. They're not animated.
Because like every sentence it cuts to a new
Yeah,
one.
kinda. And sometimes it's cool, and sometimes it's just a bit too much. Because they can't really animate faces, they do a little bit, but not much. It's like, we want to put an animation here. So there's a lot of close-ups of people sitting down. I'm like, why? I mean, I know I pick on cinematography a lot, but you just cut this shot out. We don't need a sitting down shot. It's pretty cool. But then the weird thing comes in that in between these conversations, it's first person.
Oh.
You walk around the cafe and select things, and there's a few, not puzzles. So when you do like a chapter, at the end you get to pick a bunch of keywords, and those keywords represent like elements, and then you use those elements to unlock side stories, which are written in a totally different kind of tense and everything. It's really like they've created a main story and then a bunch of side stories with different voices in them, which is kind of cool. It fleshes it out. But on the iPad, it runs at like 3 frames a second. It's unplayable. And this is why I'm saying the iOS version is... it probably should put it less than 6, honestly. The final shot of the game, and I don't think it's going to be surprised in a game about death. It's supposed to be like a nice, poignant sort of moment about, acceptance and everything. Yeah. Half the fucking screen wasn't showing what's supposed to be there. It was glitched out. It was clipped through. And I went and checked on YouTube to make sure I wasn't
Yeah.
It wasn't just like supposed to be a weird surreal shot. No, it's supposed to be quite a pretty shot. So don't play this on iPad, whatever you do. Play it on PC. It looks really nice on PC. Even just a bunch of effects on iPad. I was like, oh god, this. I guess it didn't have much budget. Checked it on YouTube on PC. I'm like, actually no, that scene looked really nice.
Built it and then hacked it into the iOS ecosystem.
So even though I said like some of the cuts and everything were a bit pointless, I ended up taking a bunch of screenshots during it because it was like it's got some really cool looks to it, and it's got a really diverse set of characters. Like I really enjoyed my time in the story. And then afterwards, I'm going through the things. I'm like, oh, I might put up a written review as well. I'll put some of these screenshots in. And sort of at the end of the first chapter, they've got an actual like anime intro. Like it's got a cool song. It's got all this like yeah. I've taken some shots during it, and I'm going through the shots. And I'm like, who the hell is that? And I Google like Necrobarista. Who the hell is that? And so the game's not finished.
Oh,
the story is complete. But they have more story planned, and it's all coming as DLC. So that character, because about halfway through, you're introduced to 3 new characters, and you're like, "Oh, cool! I wonder what goes on with these guys." Never mentioned again. So because they are going to have more story, the further story that comes along, so they do have a roadmap for this. So as far as a purchase goes, I think the game's about 5 hours long at the moment. So they are going to be adding more story, and this character is major enough to appear in the intro. Hasn't even existed in the game yet, which is so weird.
That's very anime of them.
Yeah,
like, to do that.
I kind of wish they had more budget to just make it an anime, because I feel like it could be a pretty cool.
They have a story to tell.
I don't know if the game. And this is always a question about visual novels, whether or not they use the medium to any advantage. Sometimes it's just people like that style, and that's cool.
I like the visual novels. I always find interesting. Not that I play, like that I see other people playing, because I don't really play them. Are when the mechanics of the visual novel structure end up rolling back into the actual narrative.
Yeah,
like I think that's where it's like, okay, you can't do this kind of branching, kind of cross weird meta narrative with most stories.
No,
and so that's where I see visual novels really shine.
But when they, I mean, sometimes a visual novel is just a novel,
yeah,
and doesn't really give you any sort of variance with it, and that can be fine. I've played a few that I quite like. You know, walking simulators fall under the same sort of genre. Yeah. So, Necrobarista, pretty cool. But now, and I'm sorry that I keep talking, but it's just so relevant for what we were just saying. I mentioned it last time. I hadn't finished it at that point. Paradise Killer.
Oh yeah.
So I finished Paradise Killer,
and I bought it.
Paradise Killer is a landmark piece of game design for me. Now, I don't know if it's the first game to do what I'm just about to describe, but it's the first time I've noticed it, and I think it's very, very cool. So, I basically went through it. You know, it's an open world environment. You go and explore. You're solving a murder mystery. Blah, blah, blah. Cool characters, cool soundtrack, cool visuals. It's a bit wacky. Now, what they say at the beginning of the game is you come down and you meet the judge and go, your job's going to solve the murder. Come back here when you want to start the trial. You can start it any time you want. And that's not a lie. Anytime during that game, you can start the trial that will end the game. There's just one trial. No matter how many cases you've got to solve, you'll all do them at one spot. Now, after I finished the game, I tested this. So I started a new game, and 9 minutes later, I saw credits. Yeah. I just came down, started the trial, and said, I don't fucking know. The guy you've got the guy you've got
don't like how he looks.
Yeah, the guy you've already got in custody, he did it. And they go, oh, well, your word's good enough for me. Execute him, and off you go. Game over. It's done. Yeah. Perfectly valid way of doing things. So I'm going to go into slightly like how the mechanics of the trial work without telling anything about any game content, because I think it's very interesting, and knowing beforehand might actually change how you want to play the game. So, in the trial, so this is, you know, sort of anime style. Well, it's kind of not really that anime-ish, but you gather all this information, and like any good murder mystery, there's conspiracies on the conspiracies, and everyone's got an agenda. Everyone's got something going on. So when you get to the final trials, it says like, it's not like Phoenix Wright where you go to a trial, you're picking evidence for this, evidence for this, evidence for this. It comes and goes, okay, so this is the crime. Who did it? And there may not be a single answer to that. It might even not be an answer you really think is valid. And at one point I'm looking at a crime and I'm like, okay, so the best answer for who did this is my friend. And then I went, could I just cover for my friend and blame someone else? Yep. Shot them in the fucking face, I did. I became complicit in the conspiracy because I disguised some of the conspiracy because it was people I liked. And that became very interesting but because this is a game without really any social commentary, because it's about weird gods and immortal cult members that live in a different plane of existence. Nothing is relative. But once it became I am someone with authority that has authority over other people's future and everything, it's something like, you know what? This actually has a very broad, very direct conversation you could have about society with this as well. So I've actually did that final trial 3 times just to play around to see what kind of reactions I could get from characters, how I could frame it. And one of the things that you can do after the trial is the game's not over. The game's only over when you leave the island. So once you've done the trial, you're reinstated as an investigator and they give you back your gun. So something you can do, and there's no gameplay reason to do this at all. It is just for you role-playing. That's the thing. All these choices in the game, there is no reason. You can say anything you want. The game just ends. It doesn't matter. It's only for you. You can go up to someone that you didn't put on the trial and go like, I fucking know you did it. And just execute them. No gameplay reason at all. Only for your own satisfaction of gameplay. You can do a few other things to them as well. I don't need to detail that. But the fact that you just have the player agency to shape the story to what you feel it should be, even if it's someone that does... Like, you're like, look, at no point did any evidence come up against you at all. But you were in the middle of all of this crap. I know it. And I was just doing this stuff, just thinking, this is the kind of storytelling that I just never had. Like, Disco Elysium did the amazing stuff of just having all this writing and all these options. But this one just gives you a blank slate. And so when you're doing the trial, when you start it, it says like, fact or truth. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah. And then when you finger someone and the judge says they are guilty, put them on the execution list, because you kill everyone yourself. You're the executioner as well as the prosecutor. It says, your facts have become truth. Which is like, okay, I guess that is how it works. You prove it, you ignore the evidence you want, and you choose the evidence you do want.
Right from the start of the game of like, you are the, like in capital THE, investigator. Like you are the one person.
You're the investigation freak, as everyone calls you. Yeah. And you've got all the evidence to do it, but you can shape things quite significantly. And I do enjoy that, like when you just do the early trial, go, no, I don't care. It's probably that guy. And that guy. So the whole crime is blamed on this guy called Henry Division. They've got great names in this. But he's been possessed by a demon, and he's basically an amnesiac. So every time you talk to him, and you're like, so what do you think Crimson was up to that night? Because how the fuck would I know? I was like, fuck you. He's a very entertaining character. Can't get a lot of information out of him, but it's always funny to ask him everything. But super, super interesting. And it really made me want more of that sort of thing. Like it made me think like, because I 100%ed all the notebooks, all the leads, everything could be done. But if you were more naturally playing, you could say, oh, well, I've solved this to my contentment.
I've got enough.
Yeah, I've got enough to prove this crime and just head in and do it. You could just...
You choose when to stop playing.
Yeah, and I think there's a certain level that because I'm always against people 100% in games. I think the desire to see your content is bad for storytelling and bad for the experience sometimes. What you don't get to experience is sometimes very important also in a game, which is what's sometimes good about like Disco Elysium and everything. It's like, no, you don't get that kind of game. You get a different kind of game.
What I'm looking forward to Baldur's Gate as well.
Yeah, like that's what I like to see. And so, I think if you can have that mindset of like, oh no, I'm just going to follow these leads and I don't have to scour the island and pick up every single collectible and everything. I just have my experience as it is. I think it's kind of stronger.
I think the other thing that sold me on it was hearing that even after all that, and you solve the crime, solve in air quotes, it never tells you were right or wrong.
It never confirms.
Like, so it's a game where you are fully, like, it is full agency over everything you do, every decision you make, and the end of the game is completely under your control. And at no point does it go, well, you were wrong. this was bad.
Those,
you did the bad thing.
Those characters will respond to you.
You had your experience.
Yeah.
Your experience is over.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
The characters will respond to you. So, like, they'll admit things and everything. It's like, I only did this because of this bastard over here. And, like, lots of people blame each other and stuff. But, yeah, it's a really real breath of fresh air. I was very impressed by it. And, I just had a good time. I think there was only a brief period where I was walking around a little blind of, like, where am I supposed to go? It says, investigate this in my notebook, but I don't know how. It just says investigate this. Investigate the crime. I did. I do love that it's like maybe 2/3 through that game that you even get to the crime scene. It's pretty good.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's quite the game. Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something you guys have been playing.
There's not much else on that list.
There's a game you both got. Yeah. It's a mobile game.
Yeah. Well, I've been playing on PC. I don't know about you.
Oh, it's on PC as well.
Yeah, it's on PC, PS4.
It's on everything except for the Switch.
Not
it's
Xbox.
Called Genshin Impact.
Yeah. It's a name I don't like.
It's really...
I don't really get it.
It's a real anime name.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, Paul, you're not talking, so I guess...
Look, Genshin Impact is possibly the best, like, disguised game I've ever seen. Because it is a gacha mobile game disguised as...
Breath of the Wild.
Quite a well put together Breath of the Wild clone.
Yeah. And it starts off as a single player game.
Yeah. I still haven't hit multiplayer in it.
So I've been playing it on iPad. And what drew me to it was just like, this is a really good looking game.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
And I was actually thinking this when you were talking about Necrobarista and talking about his performance. And then I was thinking about, I was just playing Genshin Impact at a smooth 30 on my iPad, running it at like the Retina resolution in a giant open world, like Breath of the Wild style thing. It's amazing. Like, as a technical achievement, this game is crazy. Like, it's run so well. So I've only now, I'm pretty early in it. I think I'm like maybe an hour or something into it. I have only just got to like my first pull. Like, got my first...
like the first
yeah. So, like, I've been taking it real slow going through this thing. But I did like that when I first stepped into it, like, I got this little objective of, like, go over here, go to the town. And I just sort of went, I
don't want
there's a little camp over there.
It's full of things that aren't the goblins.
Yeah, and like, let me do it. And, like, it's just like...
They're goblins.
Like,
whatever they are.
And I like that you look at the big open world, and it's a big open world. It's Breath of the Wild, like...
The creator got very annoyed at people comparing it to Breath of the Wild, but boy, is it just Breath of the Wild.
The UX is all Breath of the Wild. The art style is very Breath of the Wild.
I did see a bunch of GIFs that it was like, this is exactly the same animation.
The little camps, they're set up the same way. And
so how is it a gacha game?
Because you can pay real money or get the in-game items, currency, and you can draw random characters and weapons.
Yeah, so
it's different people you play.
Yes. So it's basically each character is a different attack, a different different abilities, a different element type. That's the important part because it's got like like Breath of the Wild, you combine different elements to do different things. And so the gacha is you get random weapons and if you're lucky, random characters.
Is there like weapon degradation or anything, or you just have a weapon and you got it?
But from what
you use weapons to upgrade weapons.
Yeah,
it's got all the trappings of a mobile gacha game.
Yeah,
where you're kind of having to collect lots of the same thing to get things upgraded.
From what I've heard about the experience so far, people further along, is that it will just give you the characters you need to get through the story.
It does, yeah.
So each of the characters will have a set of chapters. And I don't believe you need to do any grinding to get through that stuff. It's just like, here is like some plot stuff. Go play it. I mean, the reason I'm hesitant to play, like to really heavily invest in these games is because I know with gachas, there'll always be that point where it's like, okay, now we expect you to kind of start heavily investing.
Where's the point at which they want you to
pay, and I'm always looking for that point because like, at least so far, it is a real solid experience. Like, it's even got the Breath of the Wild climbing. Like, if you see a surface, you can climb it. I just got a glider. Like, it's... Yeah.
I find the way, like, the point-to-point gameplay works is quite interestingly different. Because it is... When we're saying you have, like, the different characters, different elements, you have 4 in a party at once. and you can swap between them.
Yeah,
whenever you want.
Instantly.
There's like a 1 second cooldown between swapping, so you can be like, okay, I'm fighting fire enemies. I'm better off swapping to the character that does water or ice elemental attacks or whatever is best against
paper damage.
Yeah, yeah. So it's the rock paper. It has the rock paper scissors kind of like element circle of like this damages this damages this. And every character has like a different type of attack, a different special that they can do, like a magic cast, and a different ultimate. So even within like 2 lightning elemental characters, the playstyle will be very different. So
I've got 2 fire.
If you have enough, you can
Yeah.
pick and choose your style of play. But just having that swapping between the 4 at any point, and they used to solve puzzles in the world as well. So like, these little shrines that you have to hit with a certain type of element.
Shrines? How did I get that idea?
Well, the dungeons are very Zelda-y puzzle shrine.
Yeah.
You're just going through and solving the problems, but
it's hard to not recommend.
it plays
checking
lovely.
It's hard to not recommend checking it out because it's
free.
It's free.
It blows me away that it's free.
Yeah,
and you can tell they're leaning on the gacha side to make money.
And I do like investigating mobile MMOs just to like I want to find a good one. And inevitably when I try these things, I think probably one of the best ones I played was I can't remember the name now. It was like this like top-down survival thing. It was all right. But I always run into things like poor translation. And it'll just sort of like you can tell the whole thing is like designed for another region, and they've just sort of like shoehorned because I know they're probably not going to make as much money in the West anyway, so they don't really care that much. But this one, it's like while the translation isn't amazing, it's pretty good.
And it's all voice acted.
Like it's all voice acted. The voice acting is fine.
James, speaking of mobile MMOs you can't name, what was the name of this game?
Genshin Impact.
Good work.
Yeah,
I covered it up so you can see. That's good.
No, I remember the name. I don't get the name. I don't understand it.
You will. It's like Horizon Zero Dawn. You'll get it by the end.
Do you?
Yeah.
What does Genshin mean, Paul? You can do it Japanese.
I mean, I can spell it.
Because I have a feeling like it probably has something to do with the fact that your main character is not from that world.
Yeah, it's like you're like
You've
an
impacted
outworlder.
onto a new world.
Yeah, it's like
you are the Genshin or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, you're like
who knows? We're analyzing too far.
Something like your sister or brother, depending which one you pick, gets kidnapped and you end up in another world. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
it plays nicely.
That classic.
The single player parts of it, which is the open world, whilst you have a 200 plus ping because you're playing on not Australian servers, it's all client side, so there's no ping issues.
Even the virtual controls on the iPad were fine.
Yeah, the UI is pretty nicely laid out.
The ping has been a bit of an issue. Like I always assumed that like playing Asia would be like at least like 120 somewhere around there. The Asia's higher than the US, so it's like
very strange.
That was very popular.
Yeah. It could just be very popular.
From what I understand,
they have like 3 million pre-registered users.
It was huge.
Yeah, like it was pre-registrations were like 3 million. Crazy.
But yeah, from what I understand, the multiplayer aspect, whenever the hell you hit it, I think there's a adventure level threshold you have to get to before you can unlock any of the multiplayer. Is just dungeon runs where instead of you playing 4 characters, you playing one of the 4. Like you pick a character and you go into a run with 3 other people and it's monster huntery and there's a boss at the end. I think that's what it is. So other than that, it is a single player experience. It's quite fun.
Speaking of awesome mobile MMOs, but forget about the MMO part. Ooh, have we all played some Among Us? Yes, we have. No, maybe James hasn't. You played some Among Us, haven't you, James? Yeah, you played the other night with me.
Yeah, we all played together.
Yeah, sorry. For some reason, my brain read that as Last of Us.
Oh, that's weird. So James joined up with Among Us, but he'd never said anything, and he used a name he's never used before.
Well, I didn't know who James was.
Yeah, I'm messaging James going like, are you going to come and join us? Man, I've been here since the beginning. Oh, that's you. Huh.
Yeah.
That's he was weird. Playing on an iPad, so he had to be someone else. It had to be not James.
Well, because I couldn't fit Time Jockey.
Yeah.
So I just put in TJ.
Well, I put in Methrend, and then no one could say my name because it has the word meth in it.
You can turn off the censorship. But yeah, it was no one could say so meth did it because it just blanked the name out.
That's the best way to play it.
You know what? That probably is a good strategy.
Well, what I've seen is that the top tier strategy is to name your character a color that you're not.
Oh.
So you name your character yellow, but you play the blue character. And then someone says, yellow did it! And everyone boots out the yellow character.
So, my favorite story was not in a game with you guys. I was one of the imposters, Yeah, strangely, my wife was the other imposter. We had 2 imposter game. And it was right at the beginning, and everyone ran through a door to go fix a sabotage, except one guy who was stuck on the other side of the door. It's the second level one.
So, is that what the game is? For
No.
So
everyone knows.
Give some context to
Okay,
everyone.
so it's a social manipulation game. You're all little spacemen. You're running around a ship. Everyone's got jobs to do. If you get all the jobs done, you win. But then there's one person that's an imposter, or 2 or 3 people that are imposters, and they have to go around and kill everyone and sabotage them. And whenever a body's found, or someone just thinks they've got enough evidence, they can call a meeting, and everyone gets to type because you can't talk in between rounds, and everyone gets to write who they think did it, and then you'll vote on it, and you kick people off the ship if you think they did it, or you can skip it if you don't.
And the little individual jobs are quite funny.
They're like tiny mini games.
Yeah, little mini games that are pretty good. So anyway, everyone's run through this door except this one guy that's stuck on the other side of an airlock. I'm like, just stab this guy in the face. Stab him in the face. Didn't realize that Cal's just standing behind me. Like, yeah, fuck. He didn't quite see me kill, but it was close enough that I was standing there and I hadn't reported the body. So he's like, Paul's at the body. He hasn't reported it. I'm just like, oh no, I'm just really slow on my mouse. Oh no. At which point I go, fuck it. I'm gonna kill you all. Fuck it. It's like, I'm gonna kill all of you, especially those of you in the jury. But before I said, I'd already said, I'm done, or whatever. The wife had said, not enough info, skipping. And everyone skipped.
Yeah. So it's real easy for one person to guide the vote.
I thought you guys wanted it, but no, because Sam was in the game.
Yeah. It's so easy for one person to guide a vote.
And so it came back. Emergency meeting was called immediately. Oh, no. A catastrophe happened immediately. And you cannot call a meeting during a catastrophe. But also could have just killed someone. I couldn't kill someone for 30 seconds. So I just chased Cal for 30 seconds, but then I couldn't touch him.
He was at the button, right?
And he was just waiting to push the button, but he couldn't push it yet. But Sam was just standing next to us. So I just killed Sam instead.
Right in front of him. And you still didn't get kicked off.
And I was laughing. So I think there was like Cal sus. Cal sus.
You can't call a meeting during a catastrophe, but you can report a body.
Yeah, but there weren't any bodies yet.
There was when you killed me.
Oh, he did.
And he just kept running around in circles next to my corpse. I'm like, Cal, you idiot.
I laugh so hard. Yeah, so it's what it is a great game at. It's simple enough that it's free on mobile devices. It's $7.50 on Steam. That's Australian pricing. It's $5 in the US. It's very simple client. It is
run on a potato.
Yeah, it is a bit of a janky client. There are issues with it, but once you get everyone to join up, because you do the chatting game, some people want to do Discord outside, but I think it just complicates matters.
And I think it actually tells you explicitly not to talk outside the game.
Yeah, so I've actually done a few games with Discord. It is such a different experience, but there is very quickly been a lot of Discord bots, tools, things that automate muting and deafening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it does actually only let the people who are alive talk when they should.
Yeah.
A lot of people push a separate channel for ghosts. So during the game, ghosts can talk them, but then when there's a vote, the ghosts get pulled back in so they can listen in, but they can't talk.
I like when you're a ghost, you still can do stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
You still have to do your
So when you're
tasks.
dead, you're not out of the game. There's still a reason to hang
Plus,
around.
I love you can type in the chat, but no one can see it until the game's over or other ghosts. So you can just be insulting people and.
Sometimes it's easier just to get killed early so you can do your tasks.
I didn't like it immediately. I think like the first 2 games, I was a bit, this is all right. And then I think after like 2-3 goes, I started,
once people understand what they're doing,
what's going on and how you can like twist the narrative a little bit, or like what you have to keep track of, it starts to get interesting.
Yeah,
just
good.
I
can see why it's blown up, especially with streamers picking it up.
Because if you don't know the backstory of it, it is a 2-year-old game which didn't really do any business until
they
a
topped
streamer
out
picked
at
it up.
19 players when they released.
Yeah,
that was their highest concurrent players.
Then
19.
The streamers got involved, and last it was the 3rd highest played game on Steam. They have done, I think, over 1 million sales.
That's good.
That's great. So they announced Among Us 2, and then they cancelled it because they basically said, well, everyone's in Among Us now.
Just update that one.
Why split it? Let's go update. We'll roll everything into that, which is actually harder for us because, frankly, our code base sucks.
They got enough money now. They can make it work.
Yeah. Because it could just use a lot, like, other than a bit more, adding more content, which, I mean, I'm not desperate for more content, but more will be good over the long run. Just fixing up some of those tools for server. And being able to invite people easily. Because at the moment, if you want to change the level of the number of imposters, you have to close the server and then reopen a new server, which gives everyone new code. So it's all very basic, but it works. Yeah. And I, like, in one of my friend groups, which is, a mixture of gamers and just people that dabble in games, whatever. It's easy to get everyone in and have a good time, and it's all nice and clean.
Two of the fun things to do when you're an imposter. Now that I've finally been able to be one. One is when you have two people, you kill one of them and immediately blame the other person.
Yeah, I did that.
That's always fun to do.
It's a good cover for when you're...
Because it sets them on the defensive, and people like to vote out people who are on the defensive. And the other thing to do is when everyone's in a stack, you murder one of them. And because it's a whole stack, no one sees who does the murder. There's just a body there. It's like, oh, crap.
It's one of us 5 people.
It's like, oh, no. It's good fun.
No, I do enjoy just like, being very suspicious, keeping my distance from people.
Because you do, like, because there's no talking. It's all like the movement is how you interact in the game. So like, you go near someone, you do a little dance to get them to follow you.
There was one game
like, you're wary of people.
It was both Cal and I were the imposter. And we had one of the catastrophes or whatever, where you have to have like 2 people use the and we both did it.
You were the only ones that were there at the time.
So both the imposters went off and actually saved everyone and did the thing.
Got the alibi.
And that then set the tone for the rest of it.
I think what I want is I want them to take a tip from Journey and just have the ability to just do a chirp. It's like just that little bit of communication. Outside of it that you can express yourself. Just a single chirp beep that you can do. Maybe you can set your own. Just wait, no.
Like the same with the hats and the pets.
Yeah.
Lots of different ones.
So you set a call, but then it could be used for so many things. Like I heard a honking. From the next room. Who does the honks? I don't know. I heard Paul honking before. It wasn't me. I wasn't a honker. It'd be great. Oh, man. And then you start just honking from the vents. Oh, boy, howdy. That would be funny for Paul. Anyway, so Among Us. You should play it. It's literally no barrier for entry if you want to give it a go, and it's very, very satisfying.
And maybe play with people you know.
Yeah, I would
probably don't play with randoms.
Yeah, I hear some very annoying photos of randoms.
Weird.
Yeah, like people just immediately calling and
throw that blue. Why? Because I said so. Okay. What? That's not what this game
blue
is.
seems sus.
Yeah.
I do enjoy you can tell that Among Us has made it now because the memes are now about Among Us. Yeah. So I've seen like
they've transitioned from Fall Guys to Among Us. Yeah, it's been a very easy transition.
Prequel memes are now they'll do Fall Guys stuff in there. It's like all that's just like Among Us stuff in there. Yeah, and I think I see more memes than I did about Fall Guys because Fall Guys is good, but it's not. It doesn't have that story. No, it doesn't have the stories that you get from like
the imposter killing.
Stuff
going on.
It's very captivating. I mean, they got lots of games that are like one person imposter, but I mean they're good for a reason. It's good. Okay, what else have we got? Okay, so we haven't mentioned the big news yet.
We haven't.
The biggest news. Perhaps one of the biggest things that's ever happened in gaming. Zenimax has been bought by Microsoft.
That's the second
for
second highest. Or is it the highest?
I think it'll be the highest gaming acquisition.
That's right, it's the highest gaming acquisition.
$7 billion, was it?
7.6.
And I think it was twice that Disney paid for Star Wars. Yeah. I think.
They paid 4 for Star Wars and 4 for Marvel. So it's almost as much as Star Wars and Marvel combined. Which, when I first read 7.6, I was like, oh, that's a little bit lower than I thought. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, I don't really understand $1 billion.
No, this is like one of the things about the billions.
It's a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, like the scale is often lost. Our human brains are not equipped to deal with the scale of billions.
It serves to remind how ridiculous it was that Notch got 2.1 for Minecraft.
But yeah, I do think that was kind of a bargain in the long run.
It serves to show how ridiculous that buy was in terms of price.
Although I do think that the Star Wars and Marvel acquisitions were severely under.
Yeah, probably.
I think there's more than just the monetary going on there. I think there's. I'm not a businessman, but it seems like those things are worth a lot more money than that. Yeah. Considering I think several Marvel films have topped $1 billion. So it's like, well, I guess they didn't when they acquired it, did they? It was nothing when they acquired it. But Star Wars was worth a bit. Yeah. Anyway, so now Microsoft own Commander Keen.
Finally, the idverse can. So they've got Elder Scrolls, they got Doom.
Well, they got Bethesda, they got id, they got Arcane.
Yep.
They got who else falls under that banner? Who's the Wolfenstein guys? Machine something. But yeah, anyway, they got Wolf as well. Machine Bug Games.
Yeah, they got Wolf as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they got a lot.
Yeah.
Now we have a bold new world where we have to consider that these games will be exclusive to Microsoft platforms, with some base exceptions that they are honouring their existing contracts because they're not idiots. It's like, well, I mean, we could spend a lot of money to buy our way out of these contracts, or we could just make money by honouring these contracts. So Deathloop and Tokyo Ghoul Patrol, what's it called? Ghostwire Tokyo. Ghostwire Tokyo, a PS5 exclusive, console exclusive. So I believe they're both coming to PC.
So they're basically Game Pass. Yes.
So now they can Game Pass Day One against it. Yeah. I'm not sure about those exclusivity contracts, but and they're still only timed as well, so they can still come to Microsoft eventually. But you live in a world where Bethesda games. So our upcoming game, I always forget the name of, Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 may be exclusive to Microsoft platforms. Now, to me, none of this matters because I don't think there's a single Bethesda game I play on consoles.
No.
Oh, sorry, Zenimax at all game that I play on consoles. All of these games are PC games to me.
I guess, but that's
us.
But that's Paul, and remember that we are effectively meaningless in the scope of gaming.
I was only talking about me there because if you've noticed, Skyrim has sold a lot of copies.
I'm almost certain that the the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout world is majority consoles.
Yeah, I expect
I'm
so.
almost certain of
that. I'm very interested to see what happens. I mean, I got excited when I realized that basically the old Fallout team are back together again.
Yeah.
So Brian Fargo and basically the old kind of Black Isle team is just sort of like there with Wasteland.
They're all under the same umbrella.
So we could actually see a throwback to a traditional Fallout game. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
There's a lot of potential sitting in this, for sure.
Yeah, especially when I think of like what are the things that Microsoft likes to do with Game Pass, where you make these little niche things that drag people in. Traditional Fallout.
A lot of people are going New Vegas 2.
Yeah, New Vegas 2.
And people are like pointing out, it's like, I think Obsidian wants to do their own shit.
Looks like they do, for sure.
Yeah, because they've got their new Arrow game coming.
Arrow. That's what it's called, right?
Avowed. That's what it is actually called, isn't it?
Yeah,
which was supposed to be like their Skyrim, and now they have an actual. So now they're almost sort of eating their own meal, but that's okay. I think Microsoft won't complain about having a bunch of Western RPGs on there. Gives them a lot of content that they haven't previously had.
I'm hoping that this does a bit to. I kind of feel like Bethesda internally, like Bethesda Games, has probably been struggling culturally for a while. I think especially after like Fallout 76 and things like that. I feel like there's something was going.
Finish that list because I think that's the list,
and that's also part of my point.
I think there's got to be some internal reason. The only thing they've released in the past, God knows how long, has been more versions of Skyrim. Plus a really buggy version of Fallout.
Yeah, so there's something. There's something there which I'm hoping that Microsoft can come along, because Microsoft is quite developer friendly. I'm hoping that Microsoft can come in and go.
Do you need a hand?
Yeah, like, do you need some processes? Okay? Like, do you need someone to tell you how to actually make things? Like, we can come in and we can help you out with that.
Do you want someone to actually take away your engine for a while?
Well,
and force you to do a new one.
That said, the short-term word is that Microsoft ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
They're just acquisition, job done.
Acquisition,
we've got more stuff.
To the extent that Bethesda will still be publishing their own games, but they won't actually be published by Microsoft, which also then leads to credence that maybe the stuff won't be exclusive. But it will be on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So there's a certain point where, we're a long way off Elder Scrolls 6. I'm going to give it minimum 5 years, probably longer. But when it comes out...
Like, who knows what we're going to be in 5
years'
years' time.
It's going to be...
Might be dead.
Day one on Microsoft. If you're not subscribed to Game Pass, how not? We've made it law at this point. But if you do want to spend $250 on the PS6
well, that's actually that was my first thought when when the conversation
the prices keep going up.
When the conversation about exclusivity is that does Microsoft really want to lose out on the phenomenal amount of sales they get for Elder Scrolls 6 on other hardware? That's a lot of money.
I can still see them doing.
Someone somewhere is about to make a bajillion spreadsheets, and they're going to figure out is it going to sell consoles and make us more money that way, or is it better keeping it on this console?
If I was a betting man, the big stuff that would normally be on Xbox, PlayStation, will probably maybe
big
timed,
maybe
like 6 months, maybe a year, but it still will come out. And then for the other, like the weird stuff when they do switch ports and stuff like that, not affected at all. They will just do it when they do it, and sometimes it might be dead one, maybe not. It just matters how development goes, because that's the business they do. They want to sell games and they want to attract people to Game Pass. So Game Pass is number one, and beyond that, give us some fucking money.
Yeah, that's the way I feel that Microsoft's priority right now is Game Pass.
Yeah,
they don't really care too much. Like I would think if Microsoft could get Game Pass onto PS5. I feel like they'd kind of be okay with it.
They've been trying.
If someone at Sony accidentally checks that box, they'll be happy.
Because remember, they were trying to do it with Switch, and there was like the story that came out, which was like, they just kept moving forward, despite the fact everyone said, no, it won't. They're not going to do this. But we kept doing it anyway, until eventually we realized, all right, everyone's correct. This is never going to fly. But, we do live in a world where maybe that there can be.
Yeah, well, I'm now starting to see Microsoft diverge more and more of what they are. It's like they are a big conglomerate of software that you can get and you subscribe to. You almost got to stop thinking about the hardware part. Like the hardware part is the vehicle to play their things, but I don't think they give that many shits about it.
Yeah, do it on a Series X, do it on an S, do it on a phone, do it on a PC.
I don't care.
Weird thing. I need to read into this, so I'm just going to say the weird thing. I mentioned it before. Amazon's Luna game streaming service. Not coming to Android yet, coming to iPad.
Yep.
Really?
Yes.
That's opposite of what I would thought would happen.
Is it coming to the Kindle Fire?
Yes.
And the Amazon show.
So it's coming to
whatever it's called.
Yeah, it is coming to Fire.
Yeah.
Which I think that's TV Fire or something. Yeah. Fire TV. Because the actual
Fire sticks.
Yeah.
Not the Kindles.
So it is coming to that thing.
I wonder if it gets rolled into my Prime subscription in some way.
Probably some sort of value add.
Probably will. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're backing it with NVIDIA hardware.
So does this mean that Stadia is actually done now?
So weirdly, so that's two things that actually intersect here. All this stuff intersects. So if you remember, one of the main technology partners with Stadia
was Amazon, was it?
No. Zenimax.
Oh.
They were the big push.
And the other big partner they had was Ubisoft and Zenimax. And Luna just announced a dedicated Ubisoft channel on Luna. So Stadia literally has fuck all. So it's bad. Because think about it.
I feel like Larian has hopefully gotten a lump sum for releasing Baldur's Gate on Stadia.
Oh, I'm sure I'm sure no one's going in there for the sales. It has
and
to
no
be
one's
paid
going
for.
to get it.
Yeah.
Because Stadia, you think about it, released almost a year ago.
I've heard nothing.
I occasionally see stuff on it.
Really?
Reddit
I've heard
from the
nothing about it.
One commentator I listen to uses it a bit, but he doesn't care what service he's using. It's just it's part of his job.
From what I see, there's basically the people who've forgotten it existed, and then there's a small handful of people who are quite happy to have it. But it's a very small handful.
And the people I know that do, and this is all anecdotal. I don't know any numbers. I don't assume the numbers are too high though, or they would be saying how high their numbers are. The people that basically have it as like their profession, and they don't pay for it themselves.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then you think as soon as xCloud comes along,
then it's unnecessary.
Yeah, you've got xCloud integrated with the new console, integrated with Game Pass, which is the new hotness. I think they said they got 15 million subscribers at the moment. And then your other opposition owns Twitch.
Yeah. So I reckon there'll be a lot of integration going in there.
I would imagine. So
A
because
lot.
Google went on about how they'd be integrated with YouTube with Stadia, and it didn't.
Yeah, remember the dream?
Yeah.
Do you remember when it was first announced and we were like,
you could be watching a YouTube and you could just hit a button and play
you
the
could
game.
be watching your favorite streamer, and then you could be, you know what, I can do better than that, and you could hit a button and then just like pick up your controller. Remember the dream?
Yeah,
The pitch.
which always seems so insane because basically they were saying it's like, oh, you can do it through recording. So like, wait, are you recording machine state every frame? How much?
Yeah.
How much data do you have?
Yeah.
It's a lot of data.
Yeah, it's a crazy world, and lo and behold, it didn't come to pass.
See, the Twitch thing, because people forget that Twitch has a platform and you can get games on that platform. People forget that's a thing.
Yeah.
It has a software web store.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get
And I
free
imagine
games
they'll
on it technically
pump
with my
that
Prime,
through.
and I
I
never
never
claimed
claim
it.
them.
right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
the same. I never claim them.
But it exists.
Yeah,
So
And
they
the-
might
the more they leverage that again,
leverage that.
they certainly have a position to do that. Because
Yeah.
it's the thing, it's like if streaming the game is the same as streaming the video, and then you start having titles in there that take advantage of audiences and stuff like that. Because I mean, I might not be into Twitch streaming, but I do understand that it is bloody big, and it's made half the games we were talking about tonight going on about. Like, it is important. I might think it's dumb, but it's important.
It's become an important industry.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Fall Guys does not exist without it. Among Us would not have happened without it. So, yeah.
I think the other thing with cloud streaming stuff is if you ask me to name the two companies that should do cloud streaming for stuff like games, it would be Microsoft and Amazon.
Amazon and Microsoft, yeah.
They're the two people
Yeah.
who run the cloud.
Yeah.
They are the cloud.
Because Google, despite
It's
their
Azure
their
and
size,
AWS. They're the cloud.
Yeah, they are not data center
No.
company. They do not do that. They're like, when it comes to like cloud services, they're pretty far down the list, aren't they?
Yeah, hugely far
Yeah,
down.
they're not even in the top 10 or something.
No.
So when it becomes like, when's Google coming to stuff? It's like, never, because they don't have that infrastructure.
They're a data company.
yeah.
Not a-
Does Amazon have any centers in Australia?
Yes. Yeah.
Where are Sydney?
Sydney and Melbourne, I think.
Okay.
I believe there's some in Melbourne, but mostly Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know this because all of our work stuff goes through them because it has to stay within the country.
Yeah, same because we've got partnerships with Microsoft stuff, so that only happened after it was all in this country.
Yeah, because it's
we're
all
government
anything
stuff.
government has to be national. Data
Yes, what a crazy world. So yeah, I think Google's out.
Yeah.
I think
much.
Well, how do they bow out? How do they
the
just
same to do
Well, they'll
everything.
just cancel the service
one
Yeah,
day.
they
It's just out of nowhere. They'll just be
Yeah.
like, okay, it's gone. Bye.
Have
here's
another
the next thing.
Have another month of YouTube Red. And say, what's that? Oh right, we cancelled that too. We forgot.
Here's the next cool thing
yeah?
that you can have for 5 months.
So all those people that have gone and bought full price games, all four of them, I guess they just lose
Or
out.
just lose out. They'll have a
Yeah.
controller that you
They
can
will.
maybe make you work.
Oh, the
as a
controller was going to like directly connect to the servers.
Yeah,
to, like,
it was going to be the console.
yeah.
And it didn't.
It was going to reduce the latency by being the console.
Yeah.
The same way that Chromecasts do it.
I still can't put like, because I use a few Chromecasts around, and they are so shit at anything but the most basic of networks.
Have you seen the new ones? They're not Chromecasts. They're the Google TV things that
No.
are replacing Chromecasts. It's just Android TV on a device. And I look at it and I go, but everyone has a smart TV now. Why would you want to
Yeah.
plug a smart TV into a smart TV? What is
consistency of interface?
the point? Most of those smart TVs are Android.
Yeah, most of them. It does become.
It's very strange.
Every once in a while, I'll get on TV and go, "Oh, we'll just run this." Oh, that's not supported on this TV.
Like
That's a bit weird.
You have a
but-
software set up for casting that the Chromecast use. Just put that on the fucking TV.
What I'm always
and you're
surprised
good.
at is when I go to like cast something and then I find out something else in my house can receive it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it can do that? Okay. I thought it was so for Father's Day. My wife's family got their dad a Chromecast because he wanted to watch stuff on the TV upstairs. And like, oh, there's a problem with it. It's not working. Paul, can you come and sort it out? It was weird. The USB port on the TV didn't have enough power to keep it running. It ran, but it
not
crashed.
quite enough.
It crashed when you tried to join the network.
Ah.
Weirdest thing. Anyway, so I just plugged into the wall. It was fine. But they had a Fetch TV attached to it. I'm like, I'm just looking.
use the Fetch
I'm just looking at my phone, going like, you realize you can cast to this thing. But admittedly, the Fetch was pretty shit. But
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. So, yeah. There's more, everything takes everything these days. So that's good. Okay. What else do we have? So I mentioned very briefly that my young nephews came, aged somewhere between 1 and 20. I don't know, the children.
I thought you'd be getting better at aging children now.
From 1 to 20, I feel like that should split up
mine's
a little
under
bit.
1. No, I think they're like 6 and 7. So they came and they wanted to play something. And once they realized they could play stuff on Paul's many, many game machines, which admittedly was why they wanted to come in the first place, but they just sat down and sat on their iPads and played Minecraft. Okay. So I said, okay, let's play Banana Foo. So that was very sad at first because the younger one wasn't getting a single kill. And I was very sad. So I just started standing in front of him for a while. Got a few kills. He got the thing. He's like, oh, good. Banana Foo is really phenomenal at that. It is one of those, I think we mentioned before. I'm not sure if Towerful Ascension came up with the whole, like, giving people deliberate handicaps if they're behind, if they're in front or behind or whatever. And just so every game basically ends with it could be anyone. So it's not quite as good at Towerful Ascension at balancing that, but pretty good. But it's just such a slick game. It has all those fruit characters. You slice them in half. What I like about the final version that we didn't do when we were doing in previews was that when you pick up a power up on the stage, you keep that for the rest of the game. Other than the fact there's a maximum you can start cycling out. So you make a build over time, which is very fun. So it's like, I've got teleporting exploding bananas. What about you? Oh, nothing. Oh, well, goodbye. But yeah, that's a very slick game. And then once they got sort of done at that, like, we want to play something else. And we tried another game that I'd never played before because I do end up having those in my console because I buy them for 5 cents from the US sometimes. And that was Big Crown Showdown, and it was unplayably bad. But even the 6 and 7-year-old were like, this doesn't feel good. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't. It's good. So like, how about Heave Ho?
Hell
yes. Yeah.
I was wondering why, because I saw when you were playing it, I was like, Paul is playing Heave Ho. Interesting.
I went back and played a bit more. So playing with children who are still developing motor skills is very, very interesting. Mainly because they do want to spend most of the time trying to dab. And I tell them, it's like, after the one laugh, we're pretty much done with that joke, boys.
You get one dab. That's what you get.
But it took 5 minutes for them to start getting the hang of those controls. That game really is phenomenal about how, for a game that is about janky movement and navigating, it is actually very intuitive. Because there were a few, like the Heavenly Bodies game, and another game I've got on here, Struggling, which is still pretty good. They just do not quite have the intuitive nature of movement of Heave Ho. And it's great. And just the fact that, they do all the screaming, and when you fall down, there's the blood splatter. And you can go, it's good for trolling and helping people. Heave Ho that game needs more exposure. It's great. So the new game that I mentioned then, Struggling. So I've only played a little bit of the game, I think like level 3 or 4 in it. Apparently it's quite a big game. So this is another game this year of a horrible science experiment escapes and kills everyone in the lab. In this case, you're a blob with 2 arms, and you get to pull yourself around Heave-Ho style. Now, when I knew this game would be a little bit of fun, is because there is sort of like a scream button, which does sort of, but early on, there's a scientist party, and there's a free microphone. You can grab the microphone and just go, and it sort of auto-tunes your scream. So, as the name may imply, it is very much playing into that idea of janky movement being hard, getting through it is a struggle. It's not quite Bennett Foddy. Getting over it. Getting over it, yes. But it's a good challenge, and you can do it multiplayer, which is one person controlling each arm. I have not had anyone to play it with yet, so I might have to give that one a shot.
It's a strange experience from what I've seen.
So I'm actually going to be talking about 2 games here. The other game I've been playing is, I call it MO Astray, but some people call it Mo Astray. I'm not sure which one it's supposed to be. This is a different game in that you are a science experiment go wrong that escapes from a lab and starts killing everyone on the way out. Much like Carrion this year, which you're a horrible science experiment.
Seems to be the theme.
Yeah, I like them because
the 2020 theme.
They're all quite different. So I always enjoy looking at people's opinions. So Struggling, I would say, is a way more interesting game than MO so far. except people hate it because it looks grotesque. It looks really icky and Nickelodeon.
It's a very Adult Swim type.
Yeah, a little squirmy.
Yeah.
Alternatively, and on Astray, you play a cute little blob with a smile. Now,
that's all it takes.
You might launch yourself onto a horrible corpse's face and you're lumbering around this horrible rotting machine, but it's got a cute blobby head on it with a little smile. And so that game's more about flinging yourself around and like jumping on zombies and stuff like that and puzzle solving like that, while Struggling is more about physics manipulation, getting through a driven environment and solving physical puzzles. So I think Struggling is a way more interesting game, but people just fucking hate the way it looks. I like it though, but I'm so inclined.
It's
Give me them Ren and Stimpy episodes.
It's like if you took the end of Limbo and told someone at Adult Swim to animate it.
Oh my god.
That's what Struggling is.
Any spoilers for end of... Oh no.
Well, not really. I didn't say what it was.
No, also we used the wrong game.
Oh, you did, yes.
So we're safe. Spoiler free.
We're safe.
Oh no.
Just think of another game that was made by the developers and you'll work it out.
Not Limbo. Something else.
It's
a puzzle within itself.
That game I call potentially the most perfect game of all time.
Yes.
Man, I do that once. The game's Inside. Man, Inside is...
That's a good video game.
I do play about once a year since it came out.
It's a very good video game.
So much polish, I don't believe it. I suppose it's weird. I think about like Naughty Dog polish, and they're similar in that, but obviously the scope's a bit different. But Naughty Dog has the polish plus jank that I find, although I haven't done enough left. Oh, no. Actually, no. Remember when we were talking about The Last of Us 2? We both had bugs in the first 5 minutes.
I assume they've been fixed.
Probably. Whatever. But they've got a huge attention to detail, but also their scope is so large, there's still holes.
The best way I've heard Naughty Dog polish described recently is that it's a game where no matter what it is, even down to the smallest detail, like how the hair moves, the one person that was working on that put their heart and soul into it. Like every single person did 150% into the thing that they had to do in that game, in whatever game they're working on.
And that's how I feel about Inside as well, that it really, when you look at the minute details, they are phenomenal. But because it's a smaller scope, they do get to avoid the jank as well, which must be nice. Weirdly, such strange segues tonight. So we're talking about Struggling and MO Astray there. I finally got to play Lair of the Clockwork God, which, of course, James, you know it's the third in the Ben and Dan series. So these games traditionally were adventure games, and they've taken a departure. Now this is half of it's an adventure game, half of it is a puzzle platformer, because that's what's cool and hip with the indie kids right now. So when you play one character, it's that, and when you switch to the other character in real time, because they're both in the same environment, he won't jump or anything. He's not into that. He just walks around and does puzzle manipulation and adventure game stuff. So far, I'm not far enough to have like an overall assessment. It's very interesting so far. Once the game opens up past the tutorial, the jumping gets way more interesting with gravity stuff, and it's very like all those games are quite funny, very British humor. And very self-aware, like they're not. I'm not playing in your genre, that sort of thing. But so this game came out, I think, beginning of the year or maybe late last year on PC, and it was a little bit of a cult hit. But I looked at it like, man, I wish this was on Switch. I look at the Twitter and they go like, yeah, maybe we'll do it on Switch. I go, maybe.
I'm in. Guaranteed.
Oh, wait.
You've got yourselves a delayed sale.
So it came out, and actually I pre-ordered it. I was just like, nah, fuck it. I'm just getting it no matter what. Yeah. And when it opened up, it comes with a free other game.
What's the other game?
I don't know. Some visual novel. It's on the main screen of the game. Like it's just built inside the game. It's like, oh, you want to play this game as well? Here it is.
Front Fraction 6.
No, it's not. Yeah. But it also has patch notes on the front screen, which is so weird for a console game. And one of the notes is, there's a bug when you jump on, I forget which way around it is, on Dan's head. You clip into the floor, but it's not a big deal. We'll fix it. And this is a platformer where you're two characters staying together. And literally every time you jump like where this guy's head is, you suddenly teleport under the ground. And you jump and you come out. Yeah. It's just like, this game has been out for a year.
And fixed it.
There's no point. It's fine.
Look,
it's a feature now.
They gave you another game.
Look, I mean, surely the writing the patch notes, you could have fixed it in that time. I don't know. I just found that so weird. It's strangely quaint, like because it is a. I think it is just a 2-man team that does it all, and like there's some pretty big events to go on and cool animations and stuff.
Maybe they just decided it was a fun little.
Yeah, they're just like, this is just weird. So far, it's, as I say, weird mix of adventure game and platformer. I'll play more of it. So this is just really just a hello, this game exists. It's very humor focused. But man, just so weird starting a new game with, oh, by the way, there's this bug, and it being a quite noticeable bug.
Oh, and do you want to play this other game?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, free game. I should go grab the Switch and check what it is. I was just like, okay, thank you.
I didn't ask for this.
I remember it was so weird because I keep mixing them up. I can't remember. But anyway, so one of them made that soccer game, Behold the Kickman, which I don't know if you remember was basically just like a basic soccer game, but it had an announcer going like, "Oh, he's going for a kick now. Yes, he's won it. That's a good kick. Yeah, good kicking. Yeah." I was like, "Oh man, this will be great fun to just screw around with people like a local multiplayer game. It's single player." When I bought it, I was like, "What? Why did you do this?" They are weird developers. I enjoy them very much. Okay, lots of stuff. James, I don't even know what that is.
That's a what?
It was a very random game that I picked up on for free on Steam.
I love free.
Called The Indifferent Wonder of an Edible Palace.
It says place.
It says place.
Oh, place.
Typed place.
It might be place.
Which one is it?
It could be palace. It could be place.
Is a place
because it wasn't more of a palace I was in.
Okay.
It's a kind of a short little, kind of like a little art project really, where you play an entity who eats buildings. And so you get presented with these buildings made out of blocks. And
blocks?
And you have to eat a block, but you have to eat the right block. So it'll kind of guide you to the right block. But if you eat the wrong block, you take damage.
So how do you know which is the right block?
Because it'll basically just like tell you, like, is it an overlay? This is the block to eat. It's not hard to find the block. And so you eat the block, and then the block appears, and there's a little hum as the block's eaten.
Does it make you hungry for buildings?
And you're presented with some weird poetry.
Oh, good. I actually suddenly know what this game is.
And then you need to eat another block.
Okay. So I just need to check here.
This is the game.
Is the poetry... Is it genuine or is it mocking?
I believe it's genuine.
Yeah, I know what this game is.
Sounds very strange.
What a name. The Indifferent Wonder of an Edible Place. I think we should go finish Knobbly Crook instead.
That would be, yes. I wouldn't say this was a very good experience.
But it is an experience.
It is an experience, and it is short.
Is the building made out of out of 3 blocks?
No, because it's like you eat a block and then it like teleports you to different places. Okay. It reminded me of like maybe a student project where they've just sort of thrown some shit together.
They've got some ideas.
There's some ideas there.
How do we do this?
And it does play until it ends.
The teacher didn't care enough to guide them down the right path.
It's a good student project. Yeah, it's not bad. I just like the title.
You both sold and then unsold me very quickly. But yeah, for some reason it did make me think about Knobbly Crook, which
should now like I feel like going and finishing Knobbly Crook just so I can't remember the name of the guy who made it, because I doubt many people have played it and finished it. And so I'd like to just go play it and finish it, and just so he knows. Like, I appreciate...
At least one person has done so.
Last time James was trying to remember Knobbly Crook, he was describing a game, and he described it to me, and I looked at him like he was literally insane, and this game has never existed.
You'd forgotten about it.
It left my mind completely, and not until I went and looked it up again did I remember what the game was, and James's description was right on, because it's. Do you know Knobbly Crook?
Nope.
So Knobbly Crook's an adventure game.
James' description first.
So basically, it's a world of rock, paper, scissors.
That's like the guiding physics of the universe.
Yeah.
It's like society is broken into rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
And you play... I think you're in the scissor world.
Yeah, something like that.
And the game starts, and you're on a horse ship, which is a literal horse, like a giant
Just a big
horse.
Okay.
And it's like biologically operates, or is it maybe it's dead? It's
It's
got
been a while.
stomach
I've gotta
acid
go
anyway. And
It is.
It does sound like a fever dream.
It is, and the first act was free.
Yeah.
I don't know if the full thing is free now, but the
can't
full
remember.
thing's been finished at least.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was all out when we first played it, but it was
So we'll
wild.
have another look then.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very surreal adventure game.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't think I played but for some reason the art style kind of reminds me a little bit of the later Goblins, but with thicker lines, thicker black lines.
It's got a really distinct art style to it. And like it's
Maybe it's
all,
just because it's on a ship.
I think
there's
it's
a bunch of ships and goblins.
it's all voiced, but it's like voiced with gibberish.
Oh.
It's
I'm gonna have to go look this up.
yeah. It's worth playing the first episode.
I'll go have a look.
Yeah,
Sounds weird.
Knobbly Crook is quite a unique experience. Let's just play it and we'll talk about it next time. It'll be great. No need for any other video games. Nothing else is good.
Nah, they're
Not
all
at the moment,
they're all
anyway.
not. Yeah, they're all done.
Yeah, video games is over. Surprisingly, it seems that Final Fantasy 16 might not be far away.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
It's had provisional ratings, so it's
Okay.
yeah. So apparently, it's 4 years into development already.
Mm.
And they kind of knew what they were going to do. So might be like a next year game.
That'd be cool. I kind of want to know where it fits in the whole 14 kind of story, like how
In
if
the
it,
world.
No one else knows what you're talking about. It's fine.
yeah. I get more out of it having played Final 14
Probably.
probably, but
So
Maybe.
here's a weird thing. Why the fuck are some of the mainline Final Fantasy games MMOs?
Oh, that's something I've always wondered.
Yeah.
Why they didn't. Like, they've gone for the most correct numbering system possible. Because it's just sequential.
yeah.
Except for all the spin-offs.
Ignoring the
no,
spin-offs.
but they're consistent.
But they're
Consistent, it's like,
consistent with it.
it has to
Because,
be like 10, then 10 too.
yeah. But, like, other
Then
than.
why isn't 16, 14, 2 the non-MMO adventure?
Okay, you're right. That is
It's
getting
a mainline Final Fantasy game. Which tells me that you don't need to have played 14 to understand it. Because it's got a new number.
That is a very good
But
point.
yeah, the
If
fact
this
that
was 14,
two of them are
I don't think the
MMOs,
point's
You're
as
not-
strong as you think
no,
it is.
because otherwise it'd be 14 too. But maybe that they can't do 14 2 because
They're already up
it's
to
already-
14.5.
it's
they
already
are.
yes they are.
But yeah, it has always confused me that like just two of them at random are MMOs.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not name them something else?
One of them's randomly a sports game, so...
Yeah, true.
And one of those
is it-
MMOs was actually two MMOs that just shared the same number.
Yeah.
Well, I
It was
mean,
a very
if
interesting
at first you don't
MMO as
succeed.
well. They were very strange takes on the MMORPG.
And now we've got 2 7s, which are actually different.
Yeah, there's one called a remake, which isn't.
Which I guess is a spin-off.
It can't-
Oh, Crisis
kind of-
Core exists as well.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Which is
yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. So,
Oh, I had an idea for a new podcast today.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those TV companion podcasts. So we just do it's a Simpsons fan podcast, except we only do the new episodes.
it would it would give me a reason to watch them.
So your idea is take people who only know up to season 12
Pretty much.
and get them to watch Modern Simpsons.
Yeah, we get guests in, but they're never like good guests. They're just like, oh, so here's a guy I went to high school with. We used to talk about all the Simpsons quotes. How long since you watched The Simpsons? Oh, about 20 years. Well, have I got an episode for you? And this one,
It's season 37.
yeah, this one, Mr. Burns wears a robot suit so he can undercover boss his employees. That's true. I watched it today, James.
Oh wait, I thought you were making shit up.
Nope.
See, I had this thing where like I still get the episodes. They still exist because I've never taken it off my list.
Yeah.
So they exist in my streaming world,
I'm
and I
much the same.
just ignore them. I used to watch a few,
It's so good.
but
I just think of it as a different show.
Yeah, that's what's
it
so
is.
good
Yeah,
about
it
it.
really is.
To come into it with fresh eyes. It's just hard to go backwards when they're still making new ones. So maybe you have to go, like you start at 30 or whatever season right now, and maybe it's 31 actually, and you go like 1 week, one forward, next week, one back.
Yeah.
You go one forward, one back. You're never allowed to go lower than 20 though. Everything below that,
Yeah.
crap.
12 to 20 with the Dark Ages.
No, 20 upwards is, oh boy, that's post-apocalypse. It is weird every once in a while because I still do sort of put them on in the background. I don't really watch actively.
Like
every once in a while, they're just like, oh, that was surprisingly solid.
Did it have a story?
Yeah, but it's never like you go back to original Simpsons and you're like, oh wow, they used to really understand story arcs and like how this all worked, and now you're just lucky if it's coherent. So again, along with The Simpsons, I still have Family Guy. And the end of the last episode was basically they just start like doing some random shit, and Peter just says like, "We don't know how to end these things anymore, so we just do stuff." do.
At least Family Guy can be self-aware, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Anyway, so that's kinda. Oh, James and I watched Bill and Ted.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was.
Loved it.
It was like a lot better than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting it to be bad. I just meant it was actually really good.
Yeah, I expected it to be unnecessary. Yeah. And what I think they actually did was make a film perfectly in line with the first two films, and it's just as genuine and sweet as the original ones, because like it's a non-cynical series, which is so rare. It's just like, yeah, totally, that's great. There's a little bit of doubt, but then they come to understand themselves and love their family and help save the world and all this. It's just really good times and some fun performances.
I was glad that I rewatched 1 and 2 beforehand. So I think if you,
I think that's what we're going to do.
Also,
definitely do that first.
They're weird enough to go back to as well, because they're only separated by a couple of years, but they're also separated by the decades they're made in. So they are also vastly different from each
Bogus
other.
Journey, I completely forgot about the intro and all the big foam suits.
Yeah.
There was so much of that movie had fallen out of my brain. It was kind of like watching it again for the first time. I was still vaguely familiar with what happened, but so much of it I just completely forgotten about.
Yeah,
and the foam suits are amazing.
And they find a pretty good solution to the problem that several things have that involves a plot that requires someone to make the best of something ever.
Yeah,
because you can't, because that's really hard. Someone would say it's an impossible task. So they find a good satisfying solution to that problem, which is good, because otherwise, I mean, Tenacious D's already done the tribute to the best song in the world. You can't do that joke again. So what else have you got?
And then unfortunately they put what that song was in a movie, and it was shit.
Yeah, I really don't remember anything about that movie.
It's like, this is literally the song tribute's about, and it's not good.
Yeah. Oh. Anywho, I think that brings us to the end. Thank you for listening or watching 8.5bit. You can get us our website, 8.5bit.com, on Twitter and Facebook. Please like and share anything like that. Subscribe to us on whatever the hell you want. Join us on Discord if you want to talk some crap with us and just have some good laughs and maybe play some Among Us. I don't know. Do what you want. My name's Paul.
I'm James.
And I'm Sam.
Catch you all later, folks.
See you, everyone.